You're watching Sky Sports.
We're in the heart of California's beautiful wine country this week. The Indy cars are at Sears Point, now better known as Infineon Raceway. Scott Dixon won 12 months ago after a tangle between Andretti Green teammates Dario Franchitti and Marco Andretti. And Dixon won last time out in Kentucky too, dramatically pipping Helio Castroneves to the line. He's on a roll. It was a record-equaling 6th win of the season for the Kiwi. Another victory this week could see him wrap up his second IndyCar title with 2 rounds to spare. We're live for the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma County, round 15 of the IndyCar Series at Infineon Raceway. Hello everyone, with 3 races to go, just 4 drivers are still in contention for this year's championship title. Helio Castroneves is chasing hard while Britain's Dan Wheldon and Brazil's Tony Kanaan still have an outside chance. But it could be game over if series leader Scott Dixon wins today. Among the scenarios to consider, victory today with a 106-point advantage, and the title is his for the 2nd year running. No pressure then. Joining me in the studio tonight to enjoy today's crucial clash, I'm pleased to welcome DTM and former Champ Car driver Catherine Legg and sports car driver Johnny Molam. Very nice to see you, Catherine. Thanks for joining us here. Let's try and get a little bit of a personal background if we can, because I think you do know Scott Dixon, and he seems, from where we are here in London, as a thoroughly nice man that's about to win again this year.
Yeah, I don't know him terribly well, but I do know him. I used to train with him in Indy a little bit, and he is a really nice guy, and I think he deserves it.
Johnny, he's obviously driving brilliantly this year. He's equalled the record for wins already this year at the moment, and of course won here last year at Infineon.
Absolutely. I think with Scott, he's always been fantastic on road courses, and I think this year he's cracked it on ovals as well and done an absolutely fantastic job. He's been very, very consistent. Helio Castroneves is probably as consistent, but Scott deserves to win it because he's been winning more races, and in my opinion, if he doesn't win it, which I think he will, it'll be a travesty.
Infineon, of course, has changed very slightly as far as the track's concerned. It's not going to faze any of the drivers, is it?
I don't think so. What they have changed has really done nothing. It was the old carousel where you kind of get almost airborne, and then there's a real long, lovely sweeping corner, and then just coming out of that, instead of kinking left and then right, you just go straight and right. Won't make any odds at all. What
do you think, Catherine, the other drivers are thinking about as far as Scott Dixon is concerned? He seems to be so consistently in control this year. Do you think they've kind of pretty much given up and perhaps we'll just take a win if we can?
No, I don't think you ever give up. Most racing drivers never give up. They keep plugging away because anything can happen at the end of the day. But for sure they'll be looking at him as the person to beat and looking at his results if they've got any chance whatsoever of nipping him in the championship.
Let's take a look then at how the IndyCar maths come together. Scott Dixon's leading the championship on 558 points, a 78-point lead over Helio Castroneves. If Scott Dixon wins this evening, Helio must finish in the top 8 to keep his hopes alive, or Scott could still clinch it by finishing second, as long as Castroneves finishes outside the top 18. He's still with us. Dan Wheldon and Tony Kanaan still have a glimmer of hope. For Dan to stay in the title chase, he must win his 3rd race of the season and have Dixon finish 13th or worse. The maths, of course, Johnny, at the end of the day, count for nothing. Catherine's already said, the drivers are just going to get on with the job out there, do the best they can with the job that they can.
Absolutely.
Do you think there's any pressure on Scott at all? Do you think he's likely to feel any pressure with the kind of advantage he has at the moment?
I don't think it's pressure. I think you're always in a position where you want to do as well as you can. I suppose if he's leading a race and now, he'll want to push as high as he can. If he's in 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th or in a good point scoring position, he'll probably not take any risks, whereas Helio will push if he's in 3rd or 4th because he knows he has to win. That's the only difference, really, and that in a way puts more pressure on Helio than it does on Scott, so he's sitting pretty.
Dixon's only real challenger will start in pole position for the Grand Prix of Sonoma County. It's a Penske front row lockout with Ryan Briscoe alongside him. A trivia fact for those of you who study these things: Scott Dixon started 5th last year and won, leading for just 15 laps. He starts 5th again this year, but it's Helio who's got the pole today.
Thanks for those guys. They did an incredible job forgetting about it, turning the page, not forgetting, but turning the page at least and moving to a to the next level. And like I said, if there is a team to rebound, this is the one, and we just prove it. Obviously, it's just Saturday, but we happy for every accomplishment that we make. And front row, it's big for us. So now we're going to continue working hard for tomorrow, end up finish like that.
Not been an easy week as far as Penske is concerned, of course. We can take a look now at some of the pictures that have come in from the States. I mean, this is the state of the truck that just 4 days ago their cars really were burnt effectively. You can see, I didn't realise how serious this fire was. And Penske, obviously, they're in their backup cars as far as this weekend is concerned, and they've made such a good job of it, really. I mean, to qualify, lock out that front row of the grid as it is at the moment, that, you've got to say, Johnny, that don't get much better than that. They've obviously got perfect backup cars.
I think you're talking about Penske. It's without a doubt probably the finest, or one of the finest teams certainly in this championship, if not the world. And the strength and depth that they've shown here is not that surprising if you know that team. And they had a wheel bearing fail, I believe, which then led to the whole truck catching fire. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but they managed to sort of ship things all over the country and build up the spare cars they already had, get the engines down there. And I think it's fantastic for the whole team that they put it on the front row. It really does actually reward all the hard work the boys have put in.
Well, despite the fire, Roger Penske is still pretty upbeat about this year.
Well, I think it's a credit to the whole team, Tim Cindric and Tom and all the guys really pulled together here to pull it, to get us here. The cars are all good. The series is very even this year. All the cars are pretty much close. So our backup cars have to be as good as our race cars. So it looked like a big effort, but we had good backup cars. And the big thing is how we get ready for next week. But it's a great effort to see how they won that pole. Okay, he said his setup was like fire, he told me.
Can you put in perspective the kind of season Elio has had with 7 runner-up finishes? You've been around racing a long time. Have you seen anything like that?
Well, I'll tell you, we just need to break that number 2. Maybe tomorrow's the time, but he's done a terrific job. And, he's been a loyal team member. He's certainly helped Briscoe a lot, on the ovals, and they're racing each other hard on the, on the road courses. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Thanks, Roger.
Well, let's take a look at the points as they stand going into today's race. As I've said, Dixon has 558 points and a 78-point lead over Elio Castroneves. Dan Weldon's third, 138 points adrift, and Tony Kanaan is 147 points behind the leader in 4th place. Dixon's teammate Ryan Briscoe's 5th, Danica Patrick 6th. Then comes Marco Andretti, Ryan Hunter Ray, Hideki Muto and Oriol Servia completing the top 10. And the other Brits in IndyCar are headed by Darren Manning in 14th place on 267 points, and Justin Wilson 2 points further behind him on 265 points. AJ Foyt the 4th and Enrique Bonaldi round out the top 20. Now, it's not often we get a chance to catch up with the IndyCar drivers here on Sky Sports, as they're based in the States. So when we heard Britain's Darren Manning was racing at the Nürburgring last weekend, we jumped on a plane and went to see him. The IndyCar Series keeps Darren pretty busy, but in the week between Kentucky and Infineon, he travelled to the beautiful surroundings of the Nürburgring in Germany to compete in the European Le Mans Series for Yorkshire-based Embassy Racing. And of course, being a Yorkshireman, it was like home from home.
Embassy guys, I raced the last 3 races of last year, and they thought they did a good enough job for them to want me back, and I wanted to come back.
This year then, talk us about some of the highs and lows of it.
Obviously, got to start with the high at Watkins Glen. I'm sure you're going to give me a nice ribbon about losing the win there, but that was still got to be the high. We should have had a good 3rd or 4th place at the start of the season at St. Petersburg when I had a gearbox problem, so that's probably a little bit of a low. Indianapolis knocking a front wing off in pit lane when I was running up in 6th place and looking like I had a quick enough car to get to the front, which would have been a brilliant high, of Indy 500.
2009, looking forward, of course, for you.
Yeah, I think we'll be back there with AJ and the number 14 car. Hopefully, if the sponsor ABC returns, so that should be great for another 3rd season with the team. Moving on and progressing from what we've done these first 2 years, and the new schedule that's out is great for me. I'm licking my lips. I think it's nine road courses and 9 ovals, and Indianapolis in there as well. So good mix for us all. So hopefully we can have a bit of a better year and get cracking into that top 10 in the championship.
Let's talk about the pit lane and the girls. Earlier on in the year when we saw Milka take on Danica. Danica's had her own way in pit lane pretty much in any other fracas, but on that occasion, girl on girl.
Yeah, they let them go at it. We got a couple of security guards in in the IRL pit lane. Charles Bradley is our kind of security guard, and he always gets hold of Danica when she comes to try and fight with some of the boys, but he let her go when she was going after Milka. So it was it's a bone of comedy for all the guys, because Danica never gets her own way with us. It's quite funny. We'd like to have a go at her. She gets her knickers in a twist quite often, really.
Danica Patrick, when she has a strop, it puts a smile on all the drivers' faces. Well, at least the male ones, Catherine, I've got to say. I don't know whether you're as amused by it as we are sometimes with regard to Danica. I mean,
I am slightly amused by it, to be honest, but it's one of those things, you know, that's Danica, that's what makes Danica Danica, you know, her stomping of her feet and her throwing the helmet down, and it's what gives her the aggression as well. So I think it's good and bad, you know. It's a difficult balance to strike. Being a female in the sport, you don't want to be too aggressive, but you want to be aggressive enough to be taken seriously. But I think maybe this time it was more comic than anything else.
I mean, in business, sometimes commercial business, that there is a bit of a glass ceiling. I think that women have to work sometimes twice as hard to achieve the same things as men. Is that the case in race car driving, or is there a similar kind of scenario where you have to work perhaps twice as hard to achieve something as perhaps your counterpart next to you might have to?
Yeah, in a lot of respects there is. I mean, we do have to work twice as hard in some areas, but also in some areas it helps us out as well. So I think it all evens out in the end, to be honest. But then, you know, there are things that we can do that help us. Like, if I behave like the male drivers behave, then I'm going to be taken more seriously as a driver. And I think that sometimes when the girls don't go down this route, this is what does them the disservice.
A lot of pressure, of course, around a racetrack. No doubt we'll see more of that in a minute or two. After the Oval of Kentucky Speedway, it's back to the road course this week. The Grand Prix of Sonoma County is the 5th race on a road or street course this year. Let's check out the sweeping twists and turns of Infineon Raceway. Set amongst 1,600 acres in the heart of the beautiful Sonoma Valley in California, Infineon Raceway, formerly Sears Point, is the venue for the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma County. The IndyCar race time record is held by the man of the moment, Scott Dixon, but the fastest qualifying lap is from Ryan Briscoe in the Penske. For this year's race, the course has been modified slightly. Drivers will now exit turn 6, the carousel, and go directly up the track's drag strip, as opposed to veering left before the right-hander at turn 7. The modification, which will shorten the 12-turn circuit from 2.26 miles to 2.245 miles, should lead to more passing. But how will the drivers make the most of the new circuit?
Infineon's always been a real fun track for me. I've raced there twice before in 05 and 06, and it's a real fun track, real up and down, hilly, elevation changes, lots of blind corners, but it's exciting and always puts on a good show. So, I always look forward to going back there.
Man, that place is really difficult because of the up and down elevations. But I think this year they're going to change a little bit the layout. So that might give an opportunity for passing, opportunities for winning, and hopefully we're going to be there.
I have a good feel for that racetrack. I have loads of laps there in different formulas, and I look forward to going back every year.
It's probably one of the most physical tracks we're going to drive on. It's good fun. It's a lot of undulation. It's pretty hilly up there in Napa Valley, and it's very physical. There's a lot of weight in the steering wheel. There's not many straights at all. The straight's got a big chicane in the middle of it and everything. So it's not terribly high speed, but a lot of corners and a lot of tight stuff.
Well, Scott Dixon could claim the title today, of course, so let's hear from him now.
You're on the verge of the championship. LAO's maybe has to take some desperate measures today. Does that change your approach at all?
No, they've obviously done the right thing for qualifying and things like that. The two Penske cars are very quick. We just didn't quite have enough, and typically our cars have been pretty good in the race. So we just got to earn points. That's the only way we can look at it for now. We've set up a pretty good lead. We got to make sure if we can't win, we come second. If we can't, come second, come third, and so on. So we've got to maximise our opportunities, and it's a long way to go. Anything can happen. Definitely Team Penske and Elio are going to try and do all they can to win, and they still can. So we've got to make sure we keep our mind on the game and try and get the most points we can.
If you do win today, it sets a record for most wins in an IndyCar season. What would that mean to you?
It mean a lot. I'd be taking it off my teammate, which is probably he doesn't want me to do it. But I think for a season and definitely how the season's been, and with the diversity that we have now, with more cars, the different tracks that we go to, I think it would mean a lot. And we would like to break a record, and if we can, it would definitely help us in the championship, and that's the main goal.
There it is then. So Scott Dixon seems pretty comfortable, pretty confident, sun shining down in California. I mean, life is good.
Yep, it's his championship to lose, really, isn't it? And like Johnny said, he's just got to be consistent and be conservative, and he'll walk away with it by the looks of things.
Perhaps the pressure's not on Scott Dixon at all, a fairly laid-back Kiwi anyway. It might be on the rest of them. Perhaps Dan Weldon's feeling a lot of pressure at the moment. I mean, don't even know if he's got a ride next year at the minute. He's certainly got a pay cut coming his way.
That is serious pressure. Dan's a good guy. He's a good friend of mine, and obviously he's in a situation now where it's kind of the worst scenario, no matter what they say. And I know Scott and he actually get on very, very well and work very well together, but it's the worst case scenario. Even though he's third in the championship, his teammates going to win the championship, or looking very likely to win the championship, and that reflects quite negatively on you. So ultimately he's in a much bigger pressure situation than Scott.
Catherine, we talked about females in racing cars. The financial side of things is a big deal as well. I mean, again, getting back to the pressure of Danica and her funding. I mean, she's obviously got a lot of backers behind her and a lot of media that are around her as well. I mean, how difficult is it now to actually fund a drive in America?
It is difficult, and it's getting more difficult with the economic climate there is out there at the moment as well. But now that the two series have merged, now that IndyCar and Champ Car have become one, it should be getting easier in a lot of respects. They should be taking sponsors off of NASCAR, and they should be gradually finding the funding.
One of the things that is striking, I think, in American racing nowadays is the fact that race drivers are suddenly becoming athletes and a lot younger than they used to be when I first started taking a bit of a look in American motorsports. There's a lot of competition out there, Johnny.
There is. I mean, it's difficult for me because I'm getting to sort of towards the end, so I'm not getting any younger, that's for sure. And you're right. I mean, a couple of years ago, for the first time I lost a drive, and I was told the reason I lost it was because the person, although I was more experienced, better qualified, the person that got it was younger and had maybe more long-term potential than I did, and that's when I realised I kind of turned the corner. But you're right. I mean, it's a very much a young man's sport, but at the same time, especially in what I do with sports cars, and I think also to a large extent, look how bankable Tony Kanaan is still. Experience really does count. And when you're in a battling position like this, a championship fight, having someone like Elio or Tony Kanaan, something like that, is worth its weight in gold.
Well, we're looking at live pictures at the moment, so I think we can cross now, and it's time to get over to Infineon Raceway. In the commentary booth should be Gary Lee and Larry Rice. Let's join them.
Back in 2005, driving for Andretti Green. You take a look at Ryan Briscoe's two. He looked like he might be on the verge of getting fired by Penske after Indianapolis. Came back at one at Milwaukee, one at Mid-Ohio, and certainly secured his position on the race team. So he'll be back with Team Penske and a teammate to Castro Neves next season. Let's join now the public address system for those commanding words.
Fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome back Mitch Mullis, the Shell Vista Volunteer Fire Chief, and Scott Webb, Senior Vice President of Merchandising and Marketing at Pep Boys, as they give the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
One by one, those Hondas jump to life, and as we see in the traditional 3x3 in Indianapolis, the crew members raise their hands to indicate that their car is running and ready to pull out behind the pace vehicle driven by three-time Indianapolis 500 champion Johnny Rutherford. But for the third time this season and third time on a road course, it's an all Penske front row. Briscoe's won a couple of races this year, but Elio Castroneves has not won in 29 outings. And Spider-Man climbed the fence here this afternoon at Sonoma. In the second row on the inside, it's Will Power. He was victorious at Long Beach, one of what we call the transitional drivers. And there is Tony Kanaan. He's fourth in the point standings. He won this race back in 2005. Has re-signed the last couple of weeks with Andretti Green. Scott Dixon leads the points, going after his 7th, and that would be a record win for the season. Oriol Servia was fast in the morning practice session qualifying for the Spaniard. In the fourth row on the inside, Justin Wilson and Ryan Hunter-Reay. Ryan Hunter-Reay, the only non-Big Three team to win a race in the last 3 seasons, and he won, of course, at Watkins Glen earlier this year. In the fifth row, Danica Patrick. She has her best start on a road course this season, and Marco Andretti won here 2 years ago. They're teammates. He's yet to find victory lane this season after winning here 2 years ago. In the sixth row on the inside, there's Mario Dominguez, the best start of the season, a limited schedule of 7 races, and Mario Moraes also with his best start starting outside the 6th row. As we move now to row 7 on the inside, Bruno Junqueira not happy with his qualifying effort. EJ Vizo not really happy with the effort yesterday, but he's one of the top 3 drivers in that morning practice session, so he may have something to show the field this afternoon. In the 8th row on the inside, Graham Rahal won at St. Pete in his first race in this series. Looked promising. He's scrambled ever since. And Dan Weldon, they have really struggled with a qualifying setup for the road courses. He is not pleased at all starting back there in the 8th row. The 9th row on the inside, Thomas Scheckter, his 4th start of the year. His team hopes to finish the season out the next 2 races and put together a program for the entire season next year. There's Vito Mira. He finished 3rd here a couple of years ago. His 90th start, and he's still looking for his first win. So can he find victory lane here this afternoon? Townsend Bell lives in nearby San Francisco. A lot of friends and relatives here to cheer for him this afternoon. Deki Muto, the young rookie driver for Andretti Green, starts outside the 10th row. In the 11th row on the inside, Darren Manning driving for A.J. Foyt. Outside, Buddy Rice. That team still struggles, Larry, to find some type of qualifying program that can get them closer to the front of these fields. Here are the team drivers for Vision Racing at Carpenter and A.J. Foyt. They have Brian Herta as their road race driving coach. Let's see if they can make some improvements here this afternoon once they go racing. Then row 13, Marty Roth drives his own team as the owner out of Canada. Jamie Camaro will start outside as a rookie. And rounding out the field alone in the last row, row 14, will be Enrique Bernardi. So once again, 3rd time this season, all Penske front row, and we know what Elio has to do. He has to win this race and lead the most laps.
Yeah, he certainly does. And you can see from that shot we just saw with these cars lining up. On the start and on the restarts, they're going to be using the long part of the road course. We'll get another shot of it here in just a minute. But on the starts and on the restart, where turn 11 is, and you turn in, there is the regular course that goes clear down another, I don't know, several meters down there, and then it makes a right. They're going to use that so they can get all the cars on the straightaway before the green flag comes out, so there's no problems going through that last corner.
Well, the weather, Larry, is really beautiful for both the drivers and for the spectators this afternoon.
Yeah, the spectators couldn't ask for any better weather. You know, 29 degrees, very little humidity, very little wind, and it's sunny out there. It's a beautiful, beautiful day up here in Northern California.
Well, we go 80 laps this afternoon. We should have the green the next time by. And what will it do for pit strategy?
Well, pit strategy, about 30 laps. It's going to be a 2-pit stop race. They're going to probably make their first pit stop somewhere between 25 and 30, or yellow if they get it. But what the interesting thing is going to be is they're going to see a lot of people coming in and stopping on with about 50 laps.
Well, that one shot last year they veered off there to the right and made that little loop. This is where they straighten what would be the drag strip out to give them a better braking zone down here, perhaps with their opportunity to pass.
Right, that's the part of the race course that they hope will give some more passing, because you're right, it's hard to pass on this course. This course, you have to remember, is designed for cars that were running much slower than this. Now that you got cars running, you know, up around 250 kilometers an hour, it makes it very difficult to to pass.
Yeah, because this track was built back, I think they opened in '68, and it was built for lower horsepower race cars, and we give them a chance to brake pass under braking. Here's a good passing zone right there, that little chicane.
That's the chicane. Now coming up, Well, we're
not going to be able to see it from that shot right there as the pace car will pull off. Perhaps you'll see where in the race they'll pull off right here to the right before the start. They will continue on down. Yeah, right. See, that's where the pace car is. That's where they will run actually during the race. But for restarts and the initial start, they'll use this loop right here. And we should go green this time.
Yeah.
Point of this racetrack. This is a good spot at the start to pick up some positions, but in years past we've also seen some yellows in the very first lap.
Yeah, and so far everybody pretty much fell back in the line pretty quickly. Nobody took any huge chances there going in through turn number 1. It looked like Justin Wilson already getting it to be a little bit aggressive there, right behind Scott Dixon.
Dixon right now showing the 5th position. Out in front is Castro-Neves. Briscoe rides in 2nd. Willpower is 3rd. Then Kanaan. Then Dixon. Then Wilson, Servia, Hunter-Ray. Patrick is in 7th. Or in 9th, that is. Andretti is now 10th.
Now this is the part of the course where it's very quick. You're up through all the gears, heading down into the chicane.
This is flat out through these S's.
All flat out in here, trying to out-accelerate somebody like we're seeing right here. And that's Weldon.
And look at that.
As Jacquera goes off course, and it looked like I'm sure he was not happy. I think Weldon was afraid he was going to come back off that gravel and bang into him, so he moved over a little bit.
Now, Jacquera was not happy with his qualifying effort, nor was Weldon to put them near the back of the pack. There's Jacquera, and right there he had no place he could actually make that right turn into the chicane because Weldon had him covered.
And he did a nice job giving Weldon enough room on that outside so he didn't go out and have to go out in the gravel. So good job by both those guys not to crash.
They're running primarily just about where they started this race as they go in a single file down from the top, what I call the top of the track, into the very fast turn 6 carousel that you talked about how important it is to get off that corner and get down the straightaway. The straightaway is the runoff area or the shutdown area for the drag strip here in Sonoma.
And you can see that even though that's one of the longest straightaways on this course, it's not really a very long straightaway. You come off of 6 and it's a fairly short time to get down into turn number 7, which is that part there on the right hand of your screen. And it's kind of a double apex corner that you make down there.
We have been out here before, Larry, when it's been very hot and very humid, very taxing with the drivers. This somewhat cool afternoon, which should not be as taxing physically on the drivers as race days in the past. But the track itself is very physically demanding. Like right here, there's a ton of downforce. You're flat out into turn 1, and you're flat out up the incline.
Yeah, this is just a very demanding course physically for the drivers because you are turning so much. There's hardly any place to rest, any straightaway on this race course, and so you have to just keep after it all the time. You can see the white walls there on Elio's car. Those are again showing you the guys who have a chance to win the championship still.
You know what that reminds me of? If you're an old enough race fan, remember the Novais at the Speedway at Indianapolis had the white sidewalls and the Novais?
Yep, they used to do that.
Back some memories. Well, keep in mind that Castro-Neves has gone 29 races without a win. Now he holds the record with Scott Sharp for having a race in each of 7 straight seasons. And if he can win one of the last 3 races, then he would set that record alone. But keep in mind that he's won at least once over the last 7 seasons, but 8 times, make that 7 times, he's finished 2nd this season. And that's not a record he really wants.
No. But you can see that he and Briscoe are starting just to inch away a little bit from Will Power, who's running back there in that yellow and green car in 3rd position. And so they're just, every lap they seem to draw away maybe a 1/10 of a second a lap. And now then it looks like he's even putting a little bit of distance on Briscoe.
Well, Scott Dixon is back in 5th position. And if you were the car owner, if you were Chip Ganassi, or if you were the crew guys talking to him, you'd say just kind of stay where you are and keep your nose clean.
Yeah. Here's Will Power, Toowoomba, Australia, having quite a good run this year. They've had some good days and some bad days. Of course, the big difference between these cars that have come in on the transition teams, they don't have all the stuff the other teams have. They've got good cars, they've got all the basics, but there are so many variations in suspension pieces and aerodynamic pieces. They're at a huge disadvantage, especially on the big high-speed ovals. On the short, slow ovals, ooh, look how slow you get going down there. That's turn 7A as you're coming through there. But on the big tri-ovals like Chicagoland, which will be our last race, these guys are a little bit of a disadvantage, so they're happy to come to a road course like this.
And you saw at turn 7, he's turning about as far as you'll ever see an Indy car turn.
Well, right there through the chicane. It was hard. It was locked to the right, locked to the left just to get through that chicane. And that's just what you have to do to get through that part of the course.
Will Power, you're right along with the guy back in 3rd position. Tony Kanaan now is in 4th. Dixon rides in 5th. Wilson is 6th. Servia is 7th. Now, as far as Dixon leading, Dixon has led 867 laps this season. Now, the record for the most laps in a season was 889 by Tony Kanaan back in 2004. So Scott still has perhaps another record that he'd like to secure before this season is out. Most laps led and most races won. And, of course, he shares that most races won right now, 6, with his teammate Dan Weldon. But now we have a big question. Talk about Dan Weldon. Is he coming back next season?
Well, I don't know. I think Dan Weldon might be in a little bit of trouble. We'll see. He might get a contract, but it's not the kind of contract he really wants. I can tell you that.
Well, if he re-signs with Ganassi, it will not be the same amount of money that he signed the last term contract with Ganassi. But right now, Castro Neves is left in the starters green. Also down at Riverside and at Laguna Seca. There, if you look at the bottom of your screen, that was the old track to that right-hander, and so they thought there'd be a better braking zone right there than what they're running this season.
Right, and that's so far it hasn't proved to be the case. We haven't seen a lot of passing going on down there, but you don't know. As the time goes on, the tires get a little more wear, fuel gets a little lighter, it might turn out to be better. The chicane right there is still one of the best passing zones, though. But boy, you've got to really
strung out right now to even make that pass.
Yeah, they're not really running close enough. I don't think anybody's too worried about that. They're going to wait till that first pit stop, which is going to be in about another 20-25 laps, and then they'll start getting a little more serious.
The only race strategy that we were sure of, Larry, was that of Castro Neves. Go out and lead every lap and try to win this thing.
Well,
and hope that something happens to Scott Dixon.
And that's what he has to do. I mean, that's the thing. The Penske, that's what they try to do every race, to be honest with you. They try to lead every lap and win every race. They haven't been as good at it this year as they have been in the past. I think they'll be the first to admit that. Ganassi's team seems, especially Scott Dixon's team, seems to have an advantage on Penske this summer. And you know, just about every oval track, Dixon was the guy to beat in qualifying and in the race.
We do a couple of driver contracts would be up at season's end, like Weldon and like Kanaan, and by Indy, we really question whether Briscoe would retain his contract with Penske at season's end, and there was some speculation that maybe a Kanaan could go to Penske. And then Ryan Briscoe won at Milwaukee, he won at Mid-Ohio, and then we thought, well, Kanaan for sure will stay with Andretti. Then he got courted by Ganassi and came very, very close to signing a contract with Ganassi.
Yeah, I think he was extremely close. He says he wasn't, but some of my
other sources indicate he was.
They tell me that he was real close to signing with them. So tough break for him.
Servia and Hunter Ray, that's the battle for 7th position. Oriole back there in the 7th position, the KV Racing entry, and the Ray Hall Letterman number 17 back there in the 8th position. And quite honestly, right now, they're pretty well strung out, so there's not a lot of competition on this racetrack. And as you indicated, Larry, they may be waiting for that first pit stop.
Yeah, they very, very well. But right now, Hunter Ray is trying to make something happen. He's up there on Servia, trying to figure out some way to get a little bit of an advantage, get up beside him. But Servia is probably, to me, one of the biggest surprises here this weekend. Is he's done a terrific job all weekend long, and I really didn't think he'd be quite that good here this weekend.
Well, Serbia started in 6th. He's running in 7th right now. Hunter Ray started in 8th, and he's running at 8. Right behind Hunter Ray, you saw the car of Danica Patrick. Danica started this race up in the 9th position. That is where she is running right now, but this was her best qualifying effort on a road course. She was not happy. She thought she'd like to be in that Fast 6 qualifying shootout. She started in the front row here last year. And I'm not sure we've really amplified enough, Larry, this new qualifying format. They divide the team, or the cars, into 2 groups. The first group goes out for 20 minutes. The top 6 are locked in. The next group go out. They're locked in. Then they take those 12 and run for 15 minutes. They take the top 6, and then that top 6 run for 10 minutes to determine the fastest qualifier.
And the drivers, here comes Mira into the pits.
This will be an unscheduled pit stop.
Well, you know, he's done this sort of thing before. Tried to get off schedule,
he'd be way off schedule here.
Yeah, he would be, but who knows? He's done this kind of thing before, and it's worked pretty well for him. So we'll see if this is. It appears just to be a regular.
Mira finished 3rd 2 years ago to Marco, behind Marco and Franchitti. It doesn't look like any major changes, but that's Rice behind him.
Well, these guys are trying to make something happen with the off-sequence pit stops. They're limited to very slow speed through the pits, so they want to come in early, get those in, so if the yellows fall just right, they can be up in the lead pack instead of way back deep in the field. So I think this was strategy on their part. I don't know whether it'll work, but it's certainly something they had planned.
Briscoe closes in slightly on Castroneves, but now, will we see team orders here? There's Rahal just went off course. He's back on course now. But with Briscoe running behind Castroneves, can he serve as kind of a blocker for his teammate?
Well, I don't think at this point he's certainly not going to try to pass him unless Castroneves just gets really, really slow. You know, the big thing is what happens if he comes in and beats him out of the pits. Then what's going to happen?
Well, pull over and let Castroneves go by him.
Very well could. I don't know. That would have to wait and see how the captain, what kind of team orders he would have in a case like that. But with both those teams, both those teams and both Ganassi's pit crews are so good. They don't usually lose a lot of positions in the pits.
There's Weldon in, so maybe many of these guys that are not running all that well are taking advantage of making off-sequence stops.
It's a strategy that they're hoping will work out for them.
Can't tell you that Schechter's picked up a couple of positions. He's up in 15th after starting 17th.
These guys what they're going to do is they're going to come in again and try to come in around lap 45 and hope they get good enough fuel mileage to make it to the end.
But guess who's picked up the most positions? Ed Carpenter.
Is that right?
Started 23rd, he's up to 18th. Of course, we mentioned that Carpenter and A.J. Foyt driving together on the Vision team, and they had hired Brian Herda to help as a driver coach for the road races, because both those guys came out of oval track racing. Did not qualify all that well, but you know, throughout these races we've seen Carpenter be very consistent and work his way toward the front. He just doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah.
He's been caught up in other folks' mistakes, but rare now that Carpenter makes his own mistakes.
So the Penske's out in front of Will Power at the moment, and looking very good for Roger. Here with me, Catherine Legg and Johnny Molam. Catherine, got to say at the moment, some of these guys have decided to take a bit of an off-sequence stop, so they're obviously working their way backwards from the end of the race as it is at the minute. I'm trying to outsmart people like Penske. Can't see it happening really.
Yeah, Vitor Meira, one of the first to stop. But when you're in the pack and you can't get past the cars, and sometimes it does pay, especially on these races that tend to be slightly towards the fuel strategy race, it does pay to come off sequence and take a gamble.
Johnny, I mean, you've got at the moment the Penske's out front. I mean, it'll be interesting for me whether Ryan Briscoe will act as shotgun at all with Elio, or whether he'll go for his own win given the opportunity.
Well, looking at the lap times, he's actually a couple of tenths quicker than Elio, but he's obviously not going to make any effort to pass, and quite rightly he's just going to sit there. They were talking, I believe, the commentators, about him maybe getting past during the pit stops, but I think even if that were to happen later on in the race, if he needs to, he can always let Elio back pass again. So I think right now Elio's going to be feeling pretty comfortable. He's got him sitting shotgun right behind him.
Dan Weldon's been down pit road as well. I mean, what do you think they're trying to achieve? It all comes good towards the end of a race, perhaps?
Well, it's exactly like Catherine said. I mean, he knows he's in the middle of it all. He didn't qualify as well as he would have liked. and ultimately he's hoping there's going to be a yellow in the next 10-15 laps, and it might all come back to him, because that's really the only way, given his pace, that he's actually going to get a top 3 result.
Scott Dixon started fifth, in 5th position at the moment. In front, your man Wilson, of course. We're going to give him a big shout out, Justin Wilson. He's having a good drive out there as well. Qualified in 7th place.
Yeah, he's doing very, very well, Justin. I feel very sorry for him, because obviously the whole situation with the way the Champ Car and IRL merged, it didn't actually work as well as he would like, and he's qualified so well, and he deserves some better results than he's been having.
Well, we're live at Infinium for round 15 of the IndyCar Championship. Time now to get back to the track and our commentators.
Gary Lee and Larry Rice with live coverage from Infineon Raceway as we wrap up this 2008 IndyCar Series Championship season. And of course, last year Scott Dixon lost the championship on the last turn of the last lap, the last race of the year, when he ran out of fuel. So when you think about that, if he just had another liter of fuel, he'd been our champion last year and could well be the runaway champion this year.
Well, that's right. As we ride along here at the Elio Castroneves, we talked a little earlier about that fire, and he said that really didn't bother him too much. The only thing that really bothered him was he lost his favorite seat. You know, these seats are kind of like shoes, you know. Even though they're all supposed to be just alike, you put them in the same mold, you make them just exactly alike. His favorite, the one that he likes the best, was burned up in that fire, and he said, this one's okay. He says it's close, but he says it's just not the same as the seat I had in that other
saying
car.
He liked the hot seat.
Well, he did, and you know, like I said, it's just kind of like you go out and buy a brand new pair of shoes to replace the ones you got, even though they're supposed to be identical. Sometimes they just aren't. That's the way he felt about that seat.
Back on board with Will Powers, he tries to close in, but he's almost 2 seconds now behind your leader. You saw that one shot, it looked like Briscoe was closing in, but I don't think there's any effort that Briscoe will make to pass his teammate at this point.
No, but Will Power
may have made
he might be feeling his hopes a little bit and kind of get up there and give him, you know, at least pressure. What the best thing you can do is get up there and pressure a guy and hope that he makes a mistake. That's the whole idea of getting close enough to stick your nose under him and make him feel the heat.
Will remains just about 2 seconds behind Castroneves. 3 seconds back in 4th is Kanaan. Dixon now is 5 seconds off the pace in 5th position, but really the positions have not changed. Wilson is 6th, Servia is 7th, Hunter Ray 8th, Patrick 9th, Andretti is 10th. And it's Junqueira. Ray Hall is 12th after the off-track excursion. Rise is now 13th. Schechter has moved up to 14th position. Bell is 15th, Manning 16th, and Carpenter has gotten around one more position. He's up to 17th. So Carpenter, who started this race in 23rd position, is up to 17th, and he's not a road racer.
Yeah.
By his own admission, he's not a road racer.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Briscoe running there in 2nd place. He's the only driver that's been in the top 6 at every road course race this year. Justin Wilson, he both going into this weekend had been in the top 6 in every race, but Wilson, he ended up in 7th position yesterday. So right now, Briscoe is the only driver on the course that's been in the top 6, been in at every road course this year in qualifying.
And this is as close as Briscoe has been, but don't get your hopes up that we're going to have a challenge for the lead here.
No.
The captain won't allow that. Look out, that was close. That was Marty Roth and A.J. Foyt, and that's that battle back.
There we are again.
Oh, and that's Weldon who made that pit stop. So he's off sequence with the pit stop. And wow. Who's off?
We had 2 of them off there.
Was that Marty was off?
I couldn't tell.
With all the dirt, it could have been Foyt.
Foyt was one of them. There was one up in front of him that was off too, and I couldn't tell who it was. It's got somebody
Roth
off there.
Is off. Roth apparently went off and may have broken something on that race car.
Yeah, it might.
And that's a local yellow only.
Looks like he's just.
Now we're going to our full course. Full course on lap.
Well,
16.
This is exactly what Weldon and Mira and those guys were hoping for, because everybody else is probably going to come in now and make a pit stop, and it's going to put them up in front of all those guys after these pit stops. So the strategy, it looks like, might pay off for Mira and Weldon and those guys who were stuck there in the back.
That's an unusual spot to spin in that configuration.
Well,
you'd think he'd spin the other direction.
Well, I think you were right. I think he was the other car that was off up on top there, and then when he got going again, for some reason, he probably did a couple tank slappers, as we used to call them, and spun the wrong way in the corner.
So our first yellow of the afternoon. Now, how many drivers will avail themselves to the pits when the pits are open? Castroneves, Briscoe, Power, Kanaan, Dixon. That's where they started this race. This is where they've been running now on lap 16 of the 80 scheduled. It really should not take long to get Roth out of that position as Johnny Rutherford back on the racetrack as the pace car driver. Lone Star JR, of course, one of the driving instructors for the new rookies that come into the series, and a 3-time Indianapolis 500 champion. And you know, you and I have known Johnny for a lot of years, and you have to say that he has been a tremendous ambassador for the sport.
Yes, he has. He really is good with people. He's easy to talk to. He's very articulate, and he's just been a great ambassador because he likes to talk to people. You see him walking through the pits almost every day, just stopping and talking and with all the fans.
Let's see if we can see what happened here. Who goes off first?
That's Mira.
Foyt and Mira go off.
Yeah, Foyt and Mira got off.
Watch the black car right here, the black 25.
Yeah, he just got on the throttle and did a half spin off the course, coming off that last corner before he got turned in.
So apparently he's underway. We'll go back and check the tires. The safety crew, the Delphi safety crew, all have onboard starters, so they can get these cars started without towing them back to the pit lane.
Well, I may have been wrong. It doesn't appear that anybody's heading for the pits, so.
No, the pits weren't open the last time around,
okay.
Larry.
All right.
Let's see what happens this time.
This is what I think is going to happen. Everybody's going to hit the pits because this is lap 16. They'll try to go somewhere between lap 45 and 50. And then they'll
make this a 2 pit stop race.
It's going to be a 2 pit stop race, no question about it. And you're going to have to stop somewhere between 45 and 50, depending on how good a fuel mileage you're getting. And at that point, when they come out at lap 50, it's just going to be racing from there to the end. If they have a yellow after that, you're not going to see anybody in the pit area.
Yeah, we only had 2 yellows here last season.
And I think now we're going to see that Mira and Weldon's actually gotten around Mira. So Weldon, after the pit stops here, no, look, Viso stopped too. So Viso is probably going to be leading this race after the pit stops. Oh, Briscoe didn't come in.
No, Briscoe did not come in. Kanaan did not come in.
Wow.
So it's not uncommon, but it's not uncommon, Larry, that Penske alternates the pit strategy for his drivers.
But this is a huge risk for those guys. I think if I'd been any of them, I would have come in. Now's the time to come in and make sure you know what you're doing and get yourself in position to stop on 50.
Briscoe takes the lead on lap 17, and Castroneves is underway.
Well, he beat Dixon out. Dixon beat
Willpower
out. So Dixon's going to gain in this exchange.
Dixon gains 1 position. Hunter Ray gained a pair of them. But look at Manning. Manning picked up 3 positions. Power lost 1.
Yeah, Hunter Ray, he picked up a couple. So that was an interesting pit stop. I'm not sure what Manning did to pick up 3. He might have. Well, I have no idea what he did.
Well, Patrick stays out, so Patrick should take 3rd position on this restart. Ray Hall stayed out. He should get 4th. So Briscoe will lead with Kanaan 2nd. Patrick will be 3rd. Then Ray Hall. Then Marias. Then Carpenter. Then Camara. So a number of the drivers stayed out that we thought would head to victory lane, to the pit lane. We should get the green this time by, Larry.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if all this really pays off for these guys. Wow. It was a huge risk that those guys took coming in that early, but I think it's paid off for them because now the leaders, Dixon and those guys, are going to be deep in the field. They're behind a lot of these drivers who did not come in. You can see as this lineup, as they're coming through here, here's Castroneves way back here, so he's way back deep in the field.
First yellow of the afternoon. We had 2 yellow periods last year. Those caution periods, we had 4 back in 2005 and 2006. We had 5 laps at the yellow last season.
Now you are.
Danica.
Now you are going to see some passing, though, because you've got some really fast cars. Remember, they're going to use the long course now. See, that's the regular course right there. They're going to use the long course, get everybody out on the front straightaway. But look at this. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Castroneves and those guys are way back there.
As we go back to green. Pit strategy has put this young lady up in 3rd position on this restart. Your leader is Briscoe. Kanan rides in 2nd. Patrick 3rd. Ray Hall 4th. Arias up to 5th. Carpenter is 6th. Kamara is 7th. 8th is Vizo. 9th is Weldon. 10th is Mira. 11th is Dominguez. Rice is 12th. Muto is 13th. 14th is Bernaldi. Castroneves is in 15th position on this restart.
And Dixon's right behind him. So all those people in front of him, not all of them, but the first 7 are going to have to pit here in about another 12 or 13 laps. They can't go very much farther before they'll have to pit. And then when all that happens, they'll be bad. They will gain at least 7 of those 15 spots back.
Telemetry on Danica. See the steering input, what degree the steering input is. Look at the throttle, almost down to nothing.
Yeah, hard on the brakes.
Back hard on the throttle, down to this final turn before they come back around and complete a lap. Hard on the brakes, almost no throttle.
And I thought some of the guys are going down into 1st gear there. I see she's only going into 2nd gear in both those corners. I know some of the guys were going all the way down to 1st.
Depends on how they got those cars geared up.
Right. Depends on the gearing they've got in them. But I had a couple of them tell me they were going all the way down into 1st gear in those corners.
As they snake their way up through 2 and 3 to 4. Briscoe took the lead when his teammate peeled off. There's a look at Foyt.
Yeah, there were about 10 or 12 cars who went into the pits and made pit stops. There were another 7 or 8 who had pitted earlier on a strategy thing. Good, look at this.
This is Weldon and Bernaldi.
And that's Mira.
That's Mira and Dominguez. They got together in the chicane. To watch again, there goes Weldon. He slides on by, but there's the contact right there.
Right, that's
kind of cut the alligator stripes there.
Yeah, you really got to be up beside a guy and let him know you're there to make that pass and make it work. So, oh,
that was Hunter Ray.
He got off course, kept it running.
Hunter Ray was back in the 18th position. He's one of the drivers that stopped that last yellow.
Yeah, that was a bad break for him. That's going to hurt him a lot. He's not going to have much of a chance here after getting off course like that. That's the big thing at this course. If you can run all 80 laps and not make a mistake, not get off course, you're going to be way better shape. Boy, he just got off way back there coming off the corner. And
that's the 2nd time he let the right side get loose and get off the corner.
And Wilson got under him, and I think Wilson.
Oh, that's what it was. Wilson tapped him.
Yeah, Wilson got into the left rear, but he was.
This is from Marco's car. Now watch, this is from Marco's car. There's the tap, and around he goes.
Yeah, Wilson was way underneath him. You can see him trying to keep from hitting him, but really Hunter Ray caused that by getting off course and getting himself in a bad position going into that corner.
There's a gap between 1st and 2nd. Briscoe going for his 3rd win of the season. There's Kanan, a former champion, and he won this race back in 2005. Kanan has 1 win already this season, going for his 2nd.
Welcome back to the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma County at Infineon Raceway. We're on lap 23 of the 80 at the moment. A couple of incidents to talk about, I suppose, but I've got to talk about the guys out front at the moment. Johnny Molam here with me in the studio. Johnny, it's looking like all systems normal for the boys out front, even though some have tried going off sequence to try and gain some advantage later on in the race.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Penske did, in my opinion, the right thing and split their strategies between Ryan and Helio. Helio pitted, he's back in 14th, and Ryan's leading with Tony Kanaan right behind him, having quite a good battle now for the lead, and they're dropping Danica and Graham Rahal off the back.
So why would you have put Helio back and let Ryan out front like this? I mean, what would be the thinking in that?
Well, I mean, you've got to go one way or the other, and I would say probably pitting at that point after 16 laps. They're hoping to go on a 2-stop from there. So again, it's just you're rolling the dice, but you wouldn't do the same with both cars, obviously. So I guess I'm not going to question Roger Penske, to be honest with you. I've raced against him long enough in the American Le Mans Series to know he doesn't often get the strategy wrong. But obviously, in this situation, they need some luck as well.
Well, Justin Wilson and Darren Manning need a bit of luck out there at the moment, Catherine, as well. We saw Justin just getting a little tangled with Ryan Hunter-Reay a bit earlier on, but they're languishing fairly well. Now we look at Danica, Dramatica, as she's known a little bit of around the circuits of the world nowadays. I mean, while we're on Danica, she's having a fairly quiet time out there on her own. I mean, 3rd place at the minute through her strategy.
Yeah, it's all a big strategy race at the moment. You've got the leaders, or theoretically what should be the leaders, back in 14th and 16th place. So it's all going to open up as the pit stops and what have you, and whether there's more yellows, and we won't really know what's going on until nearer the end.
One thing to bear in mind, obviously, with Scott Dixon, he is racing Elio, so you can bet that they said to him, whatever Elio does, you do. If Elio pits, you pit. If Elio stays out, you stay out. And you can see that Scott right now is just basically in his wheel tracks. He's a couple of seconds behind, and he's just going to follow whatever strategy that they call for Elio.
Good point. Let's get back to the track and hear what our commentators have to say about what's going on there now. We're on lap 25.
Look at this. Eddie Carpenter, a graduate of your type of racing, Larry, the midgets, the sprints, the Silver Crown cars on dirt and pavement on the ovals, and he finds himself, because of pit strategy, up in the 6th position. But he's made steady progress on both the ovals and the road courses.
Yeah, he certainly has, and he wasn't really that slow. The whole field was very close here this weekend, and you know, if you're a second off or 3/4 of a second off, you're going to be a tough guy to get around for anybody behind him.
And here's a guy who's always exciting, but maybe not one of the most popular drivers in the paddock area because of his enthusiasm on the racetrack.
He's one of those bump and run guys. He's bumped a lot of people, and then he's had to run after the race was over. So, but he's very aggressive, no question about it. And right now, he is the first guy on the racetrack that's only going to have to make one more pit stop, or at least I think he can only make one more. It depends on what kind of fuel mileage he's getting. But if he's getting good enough fuel mileage, he should only have to stop one more time. And there's Weldon right behind him.
He should only stop one more time.
He should only stop one more time. Now, Weldon, I think one of his qualifying problems was he missed the whole session with a gearbox problem on Friday. So he didn't get, he was one session of practice shorter than everybody else, and that might have hurt him in qualifying.
Right behind him is Mario Dominguez, and that has been an abbreviated schedule that they're running in this 96 car, the Visit Mexico car, but right now he's back there in the 9th position.
Yeah, Dominguez is certainly doesn't lack bravery. I'll never forget that crash he had at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It was either crash or make the race, and
he hung out there, didn't he?
He was fast enough for the first 2 or 3 laps, but he just didn't make the last lap.
Well, they had that car trimmed out so far that I'm not sure the most veteran of drivers could have qualified that car for 4 laps.
Well, he was fast enough. I mean, he coursed it around there 3 laps, and he was fast enough to get in the field, but he just needed one more lap.
Here's a guy, Vito Mira. He's back there now in the 10th position. On 8 occasions, he has finished 2nd. He has come so close, and we've said this, I think, repeatedly, but I still think that if any driver in the paddock area, if you ask him, if you can't win the race today, who would you like to see win it? It'd be Vitor.
He's very well liked. If you go to some of the short tracks around Indiana, every once in a while you see him show up. And you're right.
He just likes racing. He likes racing as a spectator as well as driving these things. Danica's in the pits now.
Well, see, this is the area where they're going to have to start pitting. Somewhere between
also
25 and 30.
Graham Rahal, so there are 25 laps. This will be 26 complete, so pretty well on schedule.
Well, if they can only run 25 laps, then these guys,
they're
I might be wrong.
More than one pit stop.
Yeah, they might have to make another one. Those guys that stopped early, because
we thought they could go longer than 26 laps.
I thought they could go 30, but evidently, if they're coming in.
Well, Rahal was in and out, and Danica is now in and out. There's Rahal getting a tear off from the helmet. And here comes Eddie Carpenter.
We expected them all to come in, but we expected them to come in
another 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, another 4 or 5 laps. So they're coming in on 26 instead of 30.
Carpenter has made his pit stop, and he's underway. The Menards car for Vision Racing back up in front. There's your gap between Briscoe and Kanaan, about 0.7 of a second.
Wow.
Kanan's Andretti Green teammates are setting out the tires. They're setting up for Briscoe. Will they come in now? Yep, they're coming in right now.
Well, so now
we should get our third leader of the afternoon.
Now we're seeing about 27 laps, as many as they can go. And it seems like even the guys who want to stretch it have only gone 27 laps. So it's going to be an earlier pit stop than we thought.
So that well could change the strategy.
It certainly could.
Because we thought they would go, you know, Vizo's going to end up leading this thing. That's the first time he's led this season, isn't it?
They went out exactly as they came in. So now they're pulling out in that traffic. This is a problem right here. They're pulling right out into all this traffic. And you can see.
We saw what happened last year when Andretti and his teammate Franchitti got together right there.
See, Briscoe pulled right out in front of Weldon. Now Dixon. Oh, and look at this. There went Wilson around Power, because Power was trying to get around the slower car. But when they pulled right out in that traffic, it caused some real big problems for those guys.
Well, after these pit stops, Vizo is your new leader. Our third leader of the afternoon. Weldon is second. Dominguez is now third. Mira is fourth. Rice is fifth. Muto is sixth. Seventh is Castroneves. Eighth is Bernaldi. Ninth is Briscoe. 10th is Dixon. And Wilson now is 11th. But it looks like our leaders can go another 21 laps maybe? Well, no. Another 10, 12 laps perhaps.
It'll all just depend what kind of fuel mileage they're getting. As we see this big traffic jam back here. As everybody kind of stacked up behind some of the slower cars because they made those pit stops.
Before the race began, Dixon had led 34% of all the laps this season. And his teammate Dan Weldon led 6, so they'd led 40% of all the laps. But of course, Dixon has yet to lead here this afternoon, and he's mired back there in 10th position.
Yeah, that's Bernaldi up there that's kind of holding up Briscoe and all those guys. But even though they were different strategies, Castroneves is still right in front of Briscoe after that first pit stop. So didn't hurt Briscoe all that
Vizo had some trouble getting through that corner. He almost blew that thing under braking. There's Weldon right behind him. Weldon, of course, having his difficulties on the road courses this season. He's led 5 different races, but only has the 2 race wins this season.
That's one of the things. Dominguez up there in 3rd position because of the pit strategy and running right with Vizo and Weldon. So those guys all having a good run. And this is their strategy, and that's what they wanted to do. Mira's back there in 4th. And those 4 have a pretty good stretch on Rice and Muto and some of the other guys back there behind them.
Mira has about 5.5 seconds on Rice, so that's the gap between 4th and 5th, some 5.5 seconds. Right now, Castroneves is some almost 9 seconds behind the leader. He's back in 6th position.
Well, and Bernaldi is holding up that whole train back there. And that's where you see all these cars right here. They're all hung up behind Bernaldi, and nobody can get around them.
Bernaldi right now is in the 7th position. Briscoe is 8th. Dixon is 9th. And it's Wilson and Power. Servi is 12th. Mark Andretti is 13th. And 14th is now Kanan. But your leader is E.J. Vizo.
Obviously, he hasn't told him that yet because
he may have told him, it just hasn't happened.
I know a couple of spotters might go over there and threaten to punch him in the nose if he doesn't tell him. But those spotters up there are very vocal and very animated. Let me tell you, they get very involved in this, and that's their guy, and they want him to win. And I've seen it get physical up there.
Well, there's Bernaldi right there. And he's back there and right in front of Briscoe. This is the battle for 7th, 8th, 9th, but they're all jammed up right behind him. And because it's difficult to pass here, they simply cannot get by him. Yeah. They're faster than he is, but they can't get by.
Yeah, Briscoe
had to look to the inside, but not enough room there. Tire smoke.
Right there was some tire smoke. He almost went in there. And Wilson's back there. He's all over Dixon trying to make something happen with Dixon. Now, he doesn't want to knock Dixon out of this race, or he won't be a very popular fellow.
Well, this is where Dixon has to be very careful, too, because he easily could get knocked out right here.
Right. This car that Wilson is driving, that's a backup car they bought off of John Herb. This is the first time it was ever on the racetrack since they bought it. Was out here. They've been very happy with it. It's lighter than the other car that they had. And there goes Bernaldi in the pits, and I'm sure those guys are glad to see that.
Because they were right now some 10 seconds behind Castro Neves. So now they can hopefully start to close in since he made that pit stop.
Yeah, now you'll see this group spread out a little bit more now because, you know, Wilson, Wilson was going to make a move up there, he should have done it while he was behind those cars, because it's going to be much more difficult now because they're going to be turning laps about a half a second faster than they were earlier.
Manning is also in, so he is off sequence, and the ABC supplied the A.J. Foyt number 14.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He had a very quick pit stop when he came in, so I'm not sure what he did that got through. There's Schechter. He also came in. He's back out there now.
Well, Vizo continues to lead this thing. He took the lead on lap 28 just a couple of laps ago.
This is just showing Dixon trying to make something happen there and then of course Wilson on the outside. A lot of things happen. This is down in turn 7 where they changed it to try to get more passing capability. Oops. Hunter Ray got up on the inside curb, but kept a hold of the race car.
Well, it's still Vizo. He's gone 21 laps since his last pit stop. Weldon has gone 23. Dominguez 23, Mira 24, and Rice 24. So we anticipate those stops within what, 2 or 3 laps?
Yeah, those guys will. You know, if they can run, they're going to have to run to lap 30 if they want to make it to the end. I thought that was their strategy. I thought they knew that. Ooh, he locked up the rear.
Vizo locked it up and almost lost the rear there in the chicane.
Well, we said he's very aggressive. There's no question about it. He's still aggressive.
Right now, when these top 5 make their pit stop in the next few laps, Castro Neves will assume the lead. But right now, and Briscoe would be second, but Castro Neves with an 11-second lead over Briscoe. Elio now is 6th. Ryan is 7th. There's 11 seconds between those 2 positions.
Well, it's going to be very interesting here. The pit strategy is going to be the most important part of this race, it looks like.
And does he come in? No, he stays out another lap. As we've completed 30, almost 34 laps now of the scheduled 80. Making a three-stop adventure.
It's definitely going to be a 2-stop race for the likes of Kanaan and those guys.
Castro Neves, those guys.
Briscoe, the guys that they're all going to be doing it on.
And here comes Vizo. So this will give the lead back to Castro Neves.
I'm not even sure Castro Neves can make it on only 2 pit stops, because it looks like he might have come in. They came in on that yellow, but it doesn't look like their fuel mileage is going to be.
Well, he's gone 18 laps since his lap, last 19 now since his last pit stop, as he takes the lead.
So that means he's going to have to pit on lap 40 or 45, and he can't make it.
No, that won't make it.
That won't make it to the end. You're going to have to stop on between 50 and 55 laps and get great fuel mileage.
Well, let me ask you this, Larry. Is the elevation change here making so much difference in the fuel consumption?
I think it's just the on and off the throttle. You're up through the gears and down through the gears. So on those ovals, they get about 3 to 3.4 miles per gallon. Miles per gallon. They're just not going to get that here, evidently, because of all the upshifting and downshifting they're doing. They're just not getting that kind of fuel mileage.
Now, with this sequence of pit stops, Ryan Briscoe is in 2nd position, but he's like 11 seconds behind Castro Neves. And here's Briscoe right here, and he has about a 2-second advantage over Dixon. There's Dixon looking back at him. He's in 3rd position. Wilson in the red and yellow McDonald's car back there in 4th. Will Power is in 5th, the green and yellow car. Then it's Servia. There's Scott Dixon, who is presently in 3rd position.
Yeah, and it's, it looks like, if things play out right now, it looks like Briscoe and Kanaan And Danica Patrick might have had the best strategy of all by staying out there, because they can make it. They can definitely make it on only 2 pit stops, and that's the reason they stayed out there a little longer and waited till they ran 27 laps the first time to come in.
Well, there is Briscoe, who is in second position, but still about 12 seconds behind the leader. Now, when we talk about the Penske cars running 1 and 2, don't forget, it was about 2005 we had that big flood. And remember that the Penske race team in Reading, Pennsylvania was flooded out. And the very next race out, who won the race?
Sam Hornish.
Sam Hornish.
That's right.
So they come back from adversity to win. They came back from adversity in that big fire this week with their primary cars to take the pole position in their backup cars. LAO has had the fastest lap of the race, just turned that in on lap 37. Kanaan had the second quickest, and there's Briscoe. Patrick was the 4th fastest here today on her lap 23.
Yeah, and remember that, again, these cars got no power steering, no power brakes. That puts Danica Patrick at a little bit of a disadvantage, because she's
100 pounds soaking wet.
She's the smallest driver out there. Not that she's not in good physical condition. And you don't have to have physical strength as much as you have to have stamina. It's just the stamina aspect of it that makes it really difficult on a road course like this.
Castroneves led the first 16 laps. And then after all that sequence of pit stops, he reassumed the lead on lap 36. Right now, we're showing him almost 12 seconds, 12.6 seconds ahead of Briscoe, so he has lengthened his lead. And Dixon is some almost 17 seconds back in 3rd position.
And here comes Will Power into the pits. So he's
Power only went 20 laps since his last pit stop.
Yeah, well, he must have realized he was going to have to make more.
We're going to go on tires here.
Okay, so they didn't fill it up with fuel. They didn't fill it up with fuel. They went on tires because they knew they're going to have to make one more pit stop. Maybe a splash and go. Who knows? But they did not. They just came in on tires hoping for a yellow flag and hoping they'll be up far enough in the right track position to get back out there. So, man, all kinds of pit strategies here that are either going to make you or break you with a good call or a bad call.
Well, we're approaching the halfway point. We'll complete 39 laps this circuit. 40, of course, comprise halfway. There's a look at Scott Dixon, who's back there in the 3rd position. Briscoe rides in 2nd. Right now, Dixon is some almost 17 seconds behind Castroneves. Castroneves has gone 22 circuits since his last pit stop. Briscoe 11 laps. Dixon 21.
Yeah.
So we have different pit strategies throughout this field.
No question about it, and it's going to be interesting, because if everything runs true to form, another 5 laps, these guys are going to have to come in, because they've only been running about 27 laps, and then they'll have to make another splash and go near the end of the race.
We mentioned Dixon just keeping Castroneves in view, but I'm not sure he can see 17 seconds in front of him.
And that was all that Bernaldi thing, when they all got, everybody but Castroneves got hung up with him. Bernaldi pulled out of the pits right in front of those guys, and Castroneves was lucky enough to get around him up on top of that big hill up there around turn 2 and turn 3. Everybody else got stuck behind him, and they just couldn't get around him, and he just pulled away.
Well, Castroneves is your leader as he approaches the halfway point. You're right along there with Andretti, who's back in the 7th position.
So Britain's Justin Wilson in 4th place at the moment, but it's shaking itself out now. Castroneves from Ryan Briscoe, the 2 Penske boys out front, we're on board. And looking out across Infineon at the moment, Danica Patrick as well, Catherine, is having a good drive today.
You always ask me the Danica questions, don't you?
Is it that obvious?
It is very obvious.
apologise.
Yes, she's doing a good job.
I think she's doing brilliantly, Keith.
Well done, Johnny. I'm glad to hear you say that as well. Don't you want to talk about Danica?
As much as everybody else, you see, that's the problem with girls in racing. Everybody always associates you with the female aspect, but at the end of the day, I'm here just as a racing driver, so let's talk about Helio and Scott Dixon. No, actually, let's talk about Justin, because I like Justin a lot, and he's done a really good job to promote himself up to 4th place.
He has done a really good job, considering he looked like he was struggling a little bit earlier on. Dan Weldon in 10th place at the moment. We didn't get to see much of him, but again, a strategy that may work out.
it might still work out. I mean, he's pitted, obviously, he was running up in the top 2 or 3, and he's pitted into, now he's back out in 10th, so, you know, it could still pan out for him, but we're back kind of with the status quo. Elio, Ryan and Scott, 1, 2, 3, and as Catherine said, Justin doing a really, really good job hanging on in 4th.
And Catherine, about Danica. No, that's quite all right. We'll go back to the track then, because our team is about to come live again at Infineon Raceway in just a moment. This is the Indy of Sonoma County, and let's rejoin our commentators at the track.
Live coverage with Elio Castroneves back out in front. He began this race from the pole position, looking for his first win in some 30 starts. He's gone 29 starts without a win. Last time the Spider-Man climbed the fence was at, well, that was St. Pete a year ago. Last season. He has 7, count them, 7 second place finishes this year, which is a track record. Not exactly what he'd like to be in the record book for. But as he goes for his first win, Scott Dixon looking to break a tie with his teammate and win his 7th event of the year, which would put him in the record book for the most wins in one season.
So the other big advantage Castroneves has right now is with this huge lead, he might be able to get back in and get back out and not lose a whole lot of positions on there. He's not gonna fall back to 20th position like he did last time.
Briscoe now 15 seconds behind, so Castroneves continues to open up that gap. In fact, Dixon in 3rd, now 20 seconds back. So despite the fact that they got hung up behind Bernaldi, Castroneves is really putting a spanking on these guys.
Yeah, he's very quick. He's on a mission. He knows exactly what he's got to do. He's got to win. He can't control what Dixon does, but he can certainly control what he does, and he wants to win this race and put a little bit more pressure on Dixon going into the next race.
Well, he needs the bonus points too.
Well, I think he's already probably got those. Maybe not, because he got so far back there at one point, but somebody has to lead a lot of
he's led some 22 circuits so far, so somebody else could come up and take those from him.
But you can see how he's fighting that thing. This is turn number 6, that big long downhill back onto the drag strip, down that front straightaway into turn number 7. Not front straightaway, but the longest, one of the longer straightaways into that turn number 7, that double apex corner.
Of course, Castroneves only has 6 bonus points this year, but 15 bonus points for the number 9 car. And of course, they come from leading the most laps. At one time, Larry, a few years ago, they gave bonus points for qualifying. Did away with that because guys were building these grenade qualifying engines. Right. They said, we'll give you the bonus points for leading the most laps in the race.
Yeah, that was a good decision, because there was a lot of emphasis on qualifying, costing everybody a lot of money, and they just don't do that anymore.
So Castroneves here on lap 43. He's just completed lap 43, now in lap 44, enjoying. We'll wait for Briscoe to come across the line and see what that interval is between 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, well,
last check was 15.6 seconds.
Well, we got a second here. I want to say hello to Lee Carey. He's down in Panama. He used to be a midget car owner up here in the United States, moved down there. Now lives expatriate living down in Panama. And also I want to say hey to Brent Holden and say thanks. He sent me a calendar from their 50-year anniversary down at Western Spring Speedway in Auckland. So just want to say thanks to him.
They're setting up now for Castroneves, so he's only going to be able to. And Briscoe, well, now that's curious because Briscoe's gone 16 laps since his last pit stop.
Well, he might just come in, get a splash of fuel, fill it up with fuel, and go back out.
He can't go 37 laps though.
No, he's going to have to make another pit stop. I agree with you. I think he probably should stay out there and just come in one more time.
Just make one stop.
But
never second guess the captain.
No, you can't second guess the captain.
Roger knows what he's doing, but that seems a bit curious because he's 16 seconds off the pace behind Castroneves. Castroneves has to stop.
Yeah, see, Briscoe could make it on one more stop. No question about it.
There's Elio coming in after 26 circuits.
That seems to be the magic number. 26, 27 laps. That's about all you can do. We haven't seen anybody go beyond that yet.
The time he came in, he had a 16+ second lead over Briscoe and a 22-second lead over Dixon.
So he's going to go back out, then he's going to have to come back in about lap 70 and get a splash of fuel to make it to the end. That's his only alternative. He just
so these tires are going to go the distance.
Yep, those tires are going to go the distance. But see, he's already getting out of the pits Where's Wilson? Here's all the rest of these guys that run that same pit strategy are going to be coming in just about at the same time.
Well, Briscoe does assume the lead.
Let's see if Wilson can beat him out. He was all over Dixon. I wouldn't think that his pit crew would beat Dixon's, but let's see. Nope, same, just exactly like they came in the pits. Almost the same distance.
So Briscoe will assume the lead on the pit stop by Castroneves. Serbia will take second. He's 3 seconds back. Then Kanaan is third. We're going to see where Castroneves may, well, they got him out to the point that he's being shown in 4th position right now. There's Briscoe, the new leader, with that 3-second advantage over Serbia.
Well, he might very well be up there. Can't see him on the racetrack right now, but he did have a very quick pit stop. But there's Wilson and Dixon, who both had great pit stops and came out just the way they went in. Look at Hunter Ray.
Almost got pinched right there. Almost got the door slammed on him.
Yeah, remember, these guys just came out on new tires. They're not as quick, so their tires aren't heated up, so that gives the advantage to Hunter Ray right now.
Kara's in. Boy, he's bouncing all over the place. Almost like a suspension component was broken when he came in.
Well, he'd gone 27 laps. Serbia's going to have to come in shortly, too. He just can't stay out much longer.
Serbia's gone 28 laps. That's probably as far as anyone's gone so far this afternoon.
It's longer than we've seen anybody go.
That's true. Kara is back out.
He doesn't want to make a mistake and speed here in the pits. That'll cost him a lot more than, even though it seems slow. When you're out there, it seems really slow going in there at the speeds they require. And you just want to speed up, but boy, you just can't do it.
Well, keep in mind that Briscoe is probably 6, maybe 10 laps away from his next stop. Serbia is overdue. He's gone, this will be his 29th lap. Kanaan is third. He's gone 18 laps. And Castroneves will be back in the catbird seat because he's in 4th position right now after only 1 lap since his pit stop.
But he's going to have to come in again because he's got to make at least a splash of fuel. He can't go to the end, so he's going to have to try to get out there and get a huge lead.
Right, here's Serbia. There's second place. That'll move Kanaan to second.
Well, Serbia's going to have to make. He did go 28, almost 29 laps, so that was really good for him. That's where we thought a lot of guys would be, but
there's 34 laps to go.
Yeah, he's still not going to make it. It's still going to be a splash and go for him.
So shall we say once again this race will likely be won or lost in the pits?
Well, in pits and pit strategy, so far we haven't seen any huge mistakes by anybody in the pits. The crews have all done a terrific job getting the guys in and out.
There goes Dixon.
When Serbia comes out, oops, he's going to get. Remember, this is where we saw Michael Andretti and Franchitti crash last year when they got together. Almost identical situation. But Serbia gained on that because he got back out in front of Wilson.
Oh, a bump right there.
Wilson gave him a little shove.
Give him a second shove.
As he tried to get under him. Remember, the tires are cold.
He did get under him.
Yeah, he tried to push him into the corner too fast to make Serbia make a mistake. Serbia didn't do it. Wow.
Well, also Dixon made a pit stop, and so that was 2 laps to go, and Dixon now is in 15th position, but Briscoe continues to lead this thing.
Welcome back to Infineon Raceway as Scott Dixon battles to win his 2nd IndyCar title. And just a few moments ago, well, it all got just a little bit close with our very own Justin Wilson. And here with me in the studio are Catherine Legg and Johnny Molam. And Dixon just about made it round the outside of the exiting car. I mean, that was close, Johnny.
It was. I mean, it kind of is. It's like threading the eye of a needle there. There's always problems there when cars exiting the pits because you're actually unsighted as well coming out of the pits. And Justin get a little bit close there, but he definitely didn't touch him, in my opinion.
We're arguing about that, Catherine. Justin Wilson, I think he spanked the Spaniard, I think we can say.
He definitely did touch him, Johnny, as far as I could see.
Oh, it was a love kiss.
But it wasn't a
take that, I'm going to run you off the circuit. It was more of, I don't want to brake, I don't want to lift, I'm going to see whether I judge this right, and it was just a tiny touch.
Well, that is also another fact about this racetrack, isn't it? I mean, it is uphill down Dale. You need to keep that momentum.
I mean, to be honest, at that point there, you're coming literally, it's like a chicane that dips in, goes up and then over a blind crest, and as he touched him, he was coming over that crest. So if he'd lifted at that point, he probably would have lost the rear, so he had no choice. So Oriol Servia should have maybe gone the gas a bit sooner, but then he was on cold tyres just coming out of the pit, so it was nothing. It's just one of those racing incidents that didn't have any consequence for either driver.
As it turns out. We're on lap 50 of 80 then. Let's get back to the track as TK tries to keep a Penske at bay.
The horsepower is pretty much the same, and Honda, if you abuse those engines, they charge you a lot of money. If you, for instance,
are you a little surprised here, Larry, that he is battling so hard for second position? Kanai will have to stop. He's gone 22 laps since his last stop. I'm surprised that Castroneves is chewing at him this hard, because he can take himself out.
Yeah, he certainly could, and you can't afford to do that. Right there, if he had run that wing into one of the tires and had to make a pit stop, he would have put himself out of contention. So you're right, he does have to be careful.
So Briscoe and Kanai have both gone 23 laps since their last stop. So we're looking at stops in 3 or 4 or 5 laps. Castroneves has gone 6 since his last one.
Yeah, Castroneves.
But there are 30 laps to go, and I don't see Castroneves going 36 laps.
He's going to have to stop about lap 70 for fuel. No question about it. He won't take tires. He'll go in with a timed stop, and that's the reason he's battling so hard. He wants to get out front. He wants to build up about a 15-20 second lead, so when he comes in for that last pit stop, he's going to have a big enough lead that he can pull back out in front. If he doesn't do that, he's not going to win the race. That's his only hope right now.
Patrick back there in 4th position. Now she's some 19 seconds behind the leader, but she's gone 24 laps. So the guys who are going to come in within about 4, 5, 6 laps will be Briscoe, Kanai, Patrick, Ray Hall, Marias, probably Muto and Carpenter.
Well, if all these drivers, if they wait till about lap 53, they're on 51 now, they could make it to the end.
That will play out the pit strategy as we've gone 51 of 80 laps here at Infineon Raceway in Sonoma, California.
Ryan Briscoe, Tony Kanaan, that's your front runners, with Helio Castroneves in 3rd place at the moment. Now, we were just discussing strategy that's going on there with Helio. Would you like to repeat that now we're on air again, Johnny?
All I was commenting on is that Helio, obviously, like we were saying earlier on, Scott Dixon can afford to be quite conservative. Helio right now needs to get past Tony Kanaan, build up enough of a gap that he can then get in and hopefully get back out and maintain the lead and not get caught up in any embroiled in any other issues that are going on out there and other fights that are going on out there. But Tony Kanaan probably's got another 5 or 6 laps left before he's going to pit, so you might see Helio make a bit of a dive, and it's all whether Tony wants to let him through or not.
Dodging my usual obligatory Danica question, Dan Weldon is behind her. She's in 4th place. Dan's in 5th place at the moment. He's having a good drive, isn't he, again?
What are you insinuating about Dan?
Not a thing.
No, Dan is. I mean, they went off strategy at the beginning of the race, and like I said earlier, it does sometimes pay off with yellows and fuel strategy, and so far it's paid off for him in 5th.
It's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out come the final few minutes of this race, because really at the moment everybody's just jostling for the position. It's a bit like a boxing match almost.
I mean, if it stays green to the end, you're going to see the main protagonists with the speed finish in the first 2 or 3 positions. But if there's another yellow sometime in the next 10-12 laps, it could throw the whole cat amongst the pigeons.
That really is the situation. Will there be a yellow, or will these strategies pay off? Let's get back to the track then. We're live.
Live coverage on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Of course, we have 2 more Sundays of action for you on our worldwide telecast as we go on to Belle Isle, that island in the Detroit River. You throw a baseball one direction, you hit downtown Detroit. You throw a baseball the other direction, and you get into Canada.
That's right.
And then, of course, in 2 weeks from today, we're at Chicagoland Speedway to wrap up this 2008 campaign. And probably, I would guess, crown Scott Dixon the second championship.
I think the captain got a hold of Helio and said, hey, he's going to pit here in a couple laps. Just don't get in there and do anything silly right now. You don't have to pass him, because he's backed off a little bit.
Well, there's Briscoe, so this would give the lead to Kanaan if he stays out, and Kanaan does stay out. So Kanaan becomes our 4th different leader of the day.
So he's going to come in. He's got 27 laps to go once he's back on the racetrack. So he will not have to stop again. Shouldn't have to stop it.
You're talking about Briscoe now. When he gets back out, he's good to go. When will Kanaan come in, which will give the lead back to Castroneves, but he's going to have to stop for that splash and go. And his only hope was that he'd have a big enough lead that splash would keep him out in front.
You saw them. They got every ounce of fuel they could get in there. They waited after they put the car down. Whoa, he almost lost it there. And he lost a couple more spots. Remember, new tires, they're a little slick. They're cold. He came out of there, got on him a little hard up there in turn number 2. Almost lost it, but kept it under control. So good job by him to keep that thing out of the sand.
Okay, it's been 26. This will be 27 laps that Kanaan has gone. And then that would give the lead back to Castroneves.
Well, he and
Patrick are overdue. Both of those drivers are overdue.
Yeah, Patrick and
Carpenter is overdue at 26 laps.
They'll be coming in either this time or next time for sure. They can't stay out there much longer. And there he goes.
There he goes.
Into the pits. So that'll give Castroneves the lead again. Now this all depend on how big a lead he can build up before he has to come in for his last pit stop. So it'll be interesting to see. These guys, Kanaan's going to make it with 26 laps to go, so he's got enough fuel to go the distance after this pit stop.
It looked to me like Kanaan will get those 3 bonus points, so that's 16 laps early. Then he'll add another 8 laps between laps 36 and 43. He's back in the lead now, and it looks like he can go, Larry? He's on lap 10. He can go another 18, 19 laps before that splash. He can go to
70. He can go to lap 7, about lap 70 when he'll have to come in, probably.
There's Danicki in for her final stop. Castroneves, Weldon now shows himself in second position, but he's almost 13 seconds back. He'll have to stop again. Bezo is third. He has another stop to go. Mira is fourth. Briscoe has just stopped. So right now Briscoe may be in the best position.
He should be in a very good position.
To win his third of the year.
The whole strategy, as you said, the captain had him on 2 different strategies, not knowing which one would be best, and it looks like both of them are going to play out to be pretty good, quite honestly, and not a huge difference, because when Castroneves comes in and gets fuel, he's going to, he's going to have to just take as much, build up as big a lead as he can, take as little fuel as he can, and get back out there and hope it's quick enough to beat Briscoe.
Well, Weldon will have to stop. Bezo will have to stop. Mira. Briscoe now is 24 seconds back. So Castroneves will need to open it up a bit more to make that splash and go.
Yeah, he's going to have to get a lead. But all these other guys, they're going to have to come in and make some sort of a pit stop as well. So we'll just have to see. But right now, Castroneves is the only one on that early pit stop strategy that seems to have a chance to win the race. It's just because he got such a huge lead on everybody else out there.
You know, it's interesting how fates can change, Larry, because through Indianapolis, we didn't know if Ryan Briscoe could last the season. He'd made some mistakes, had some crashes, and look what happened.
He'd been very unlucky, too. Some of those crashes were not his fault.
But you're Roger, when you drive for Roger Penske wants you to win. And so Briscoe comes back at Milwaukee after all the attention of getting into Danica Patrick in the pit lane at Indianapolis, and wins the race, and then wins on the road course at Mid-Ohio.
Bernaldi got way high right there and almost pulled back down into the car going around him.
Castroneves leads this thing with 24 laps to go over Weldon, Bezo, Mira, and Briscoe is fifth. Castroneves will get his bonus points. The 3 bonus points will lead the most laps here, but can he pull off the win? Because Bezo will have to stop. That'll put Castroneves. And right now it looks like he still has about a 7-second advantage over Briscoe.
Yeah, well, Briscoe got caught up with some of those lap cars back there and couldn't get around him. But you can see Will Power as he pulled right out in front of Muto and some of the other guys.
Will Power will serve his drive-through penalty the next time by. We're going to show a replay of why he got penalized. Here's what happened. Down to the chicane. And that's why he just went on through the chicane. And apparently it's the third time today he's done that.
Well, then, you know, if he's done it 3 times, he should have learned the first 2 times. They need to give him a drive-through penalty.
Because the parking for a few seconds.
Yeah. And here's Wilson, who's this will be his last pit stop. I'm still a little surprised that they're taking tires and everything on. The tires must make a lot more difference than I thought. I thought they'd just do a lot quicker stop than that.
Well, right now, we know that Visa will have to stop in the next 6 or 7 laps. There's only 22 circuits to go. That will make Castle-Nevitz the leader over Briscoe. And right now, Castle-Nevitz has a 2-second advantage. So despite the difference in pit strategy by the captain, his guys are going to run 1-2.
Yeah. And I truly believe that a lot of the reason for that was that one section right in there where he got around Bernaldi and
nobody else could.
And nobody else could get around there. So it made a big difference. Briscoe wasn't involved in that, so it didn't make any difference for him.
There was the drive-through for Power. And here's the pit stop for Vizo. And this will give the lead back to Castle-Nevitz.
Yeah, after this last round of pit stops, we should pretty much know where everybody's going to fall into line on this last 20 laps of the race.
Well, Castle-Nevitz has the lead. This is the 4th time that he has led this afternoon. Briscoe is second, almost 3 seconds back. Now, Dominguez will still have to stop, and that will put Kanaan in the 3rd spot. Weldon would then assume the 4th spot.
Yeah, Danica Patrick, she's going to end up in about 6th through all this. So her strategy was pretty good because she started pretty deep in the field, and that was a good move on their part to put her up near the front.
Larry, I have my crystal ball. I see some fence climbing this afternoon. This after a 29 race win streak could be Elio's day.
You're back then on lap 62 and the IndyCar Series point standings. If we look at them as of now, Scott Dixon will be just 41 points in front of Helio Castroneves, Dan Weldon 122. So it's all to play for still. Let's go back to the track live.
Going into the last race in Chicagoland.
So he said he had to win and he had to pick up the bonus points and have something happen to Dixon. Now Dixon is 46 seconds back. He's made his last pit stop. Dixon may pick up some spots, but still, there's still that outside chance. We were giving this title. We were about to crown him,
right,
you know, King Dixon, and that may have been premature.
Well, he's, his pit strategy did not work. He did get caught up. That's one of the few times we've seen him have some bad luck here this year. But, you know, he could end up back there with losing a lot of points.
But as we take a look at Scott Dixon riding back there in 14th position, some 46 seconds behind the leader. Larry, as a race driver, you had some string of good luck, but at the same time, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, you know, when's this all going to end?
Right.
And the tables are going to turn.
Yeah, the worst thing is to get out front and then try to put it on cruise control and have things go wrong. And he's following Dominguez right now and trying to get around him.
Right now, Castle-Nevitz continues to open up that gap. There's his teammate. You see him, but that's 5 seconds between first and second. Kanaan some 8 seconds back in 3rd position. Weldon is 4th, but he is 18 seconds back. So right now, this certainly is Elio's race to win.
Well, Patrick is in 5th, so she's had a pretty good run here. As she once again moves from 9th up to 5th in the grid. And I think she's got to be very happy with that run. A lot of it was strategy, but some of it was just that she's running that thing pretty hard all day.
Well, she's 7 seconds behind Weldon, so there's really no battle for position there. Right now, Dixon is almost a second, actually is a second behind Dominguez, so there's no battle for position for 13th. And there he is right there. There's Dominguez right in front of him. So right now he has to keep his nose clean. He's going to take a huge hit in the points, but he really can't take it in towards the risk right now at this juncture of the race.
14th is better than 20th, and or 22nd, or whatever he would finish if he knocks himself out of the race. He's just got to keep his mind focused. The team's got to keep focused. You know, this is the first time we've lost points in many races. We've been gaining all along, so we're bound to have a bad day and lose some points. So let's just keep our minds open. 38 points is still a pretty good lead, going with only 2 races to go.
Well, his worst finish all season was a 22nd at St. Petersburg. The rest of the time he is, well, he had 11th at Watkins Glen, but that was a race that he really took himself out of under that yellow late, and he was scrubbing the tires and lost control. So everything very much has been going his way this season until we come here today. Did not qualify all that well, but you heard him say that in the past when they didn't qualify all so well, they normally had a good race car for the event itself.
They always have, and I think maybe this time it was just, you know, not that it was the wrong strategy, but the strategy just didn't work out as good this time as it has on other occasions for him.
Well, he's lost some distance over Dominguez, so he continues to ride some 47 seconds behind Castroneves. Terminology and Elio, they don't go together.
No,
Losing
really.
streak and Elio.
He's been a pretty consistent, pretty strong runner since he's joined the IndyCar series, and hard to believe that with all the things that have happened and all the quick runs he's had, that he hasn't won a race. But you know, just hasn't been. I had one of those years when I was racing sprint cars. I only won 1 race all year. I think I finished 7th or 2nd. 7 or 8 times. So
now, what was your victory celebration when you won a race? Did you climb the fence?
No, I usually just took a deep breath and was glad it was over with.
And asked for a cool brewski.
Yeah, that's right.
The trouble was, all the races you won, they never had a trophy girl, did they?
That's right. Now,
you know the way I race, Larry, I kiss the trophy girl before the race just in case. Well, the bonus points now officially going to Castroneves for leading the most laps, and there is his teammate stuck in behind Will Power, and he's going to squeeze by him. Will is a lap off the pace now, back in 22nd position, but there is the interval between 1st and 2nd.
Well, that was nice of Will Power. He just pulled up and let him go. He knew he was a lap off the pace and didn't want to cause any problems, so that's good.
Well, we drop back to Tony Kanaan, who rides in 3rd position. There's Tony. And he's some 13.3 seconds behind Castroneves now with 14 laps to go. Remember that year that he won the championship? What a phenomenal drive he had. Finished every lap of competition. Had never been done before.
Yeah, pretty unbelievable that he could do that, but he did do it. And that's what it takes sometimes to win races. You got to be consistent as well as fast. And he certainly has been that his whole career.
When we get to the race next week, there may be fewer white sidewall tires.
Yeah, I think there will be.
There's Weldon. He's now in the 4th position, but 18 seconds behind the leader. And he can go the distance without making a stop. So Dan Weldon looking for a 3rd win this year, and perhaps trying to secure a seat in this car for next year. But he was just plain told that if he signs, they will not sign him for the kind of money that he signed for his last contract. And our source just said, Chip said, if you think you're worth more someplace else, go.
Yeah. Well, there's really no place else to go.
No place else in IndyCar racing for him to go. Yeah. And Danica, of course, she signed another year with Andretti Green. She rides in the 5th position right now. Her qualifying effort was 9th, her best qualifying effort of the season.
Well, her and Dan Weldon were both on the same pit strategy, and it's really paid off for him. Weldon started back in 15th. And there's Junqueras. He's trying to get around some of the lap traffic.
That's Jamie Camara. And one of the rookies, he goes on by. So Junquera back in the 6th position.
So, and he's had a good run. He was pretty fast here all weekend.
And look at EJ Vizo. He's led twice here this afternoon.
Yeah, and he's been relatively calm and cool and collected. He hasn't really been in danger of running up. Remember, these two guys, they've had trouble before.
There's Mira behind him. What Mira tried to get him right there, couldn't do it. That's the battle for 7th.
It was Mid-Ohio that Viso went in under Mira and put him in the tire barriers.
Yeah, Vera had some very sharp words about Vizo's driving ability when the race was over. But you know, if they smooth this kid out, he could be a contender in a couple of years.
Any chief mechanic or any car owner will always tell you they'd rather slow a guy down than speed him up. You can't speed him up. You just can't teach him to go faster. But if a guy's going too fast and running over people, you can calm him down and make him a good racer.
Well, there's Graham Rahal, who started out with a win in his very first race at St. Petersburg. And quite honestly, this team has struggled. We kind of compare this. We talk about Marco driving for his dad, but Graham doesn't drive for his dad. You know, Bobby's got him with the Newman Haas Lanigan team, and he keeps an eye on him, which may be better for team spirits than having your own kid drive for you.
And that team, I think, is going to get much better next year when they get a lot more of the pieces they need, and a lot of it's going to depend on funding.
It's a winning race team.
It's a winning race team, and even though it's Newman Haas, everybody thinks they got loads and loads of money. They're not as well funded as a lot of these teams out here. There's McDonald's sponsors all they got, and it's not really a great big sponsor.
And extend our best wishes to Paul Newman because he's fighting some health problems right now and has not been to the racetrack in a number of weeks, so he's back home watching in Connecticut, so we wish him well in his health struggles. There's a look at Scott Dixon. Dixon back in the 14th position now, and he's still 49 seconds back, so this is coming up on his second worst finish of the season. Remember, he won the outing at Homestead, and the very next week at St. Petersburg finished 22nd.
He's right behind Dominguez, and Servia is about 4 or 5 seconds behind him, so he doesn't really have any challenges from behind, and he's just not up there. I think he's, you know, just trying to make the best out of not such a good situation and get out of here at 14th and go on to the next race and hope it's better.
Well, we say this will be about 41 points if they finish like they're running right now. 41 points between that's a huge dent, because it was 78 points between first and second when this race began. So we still have 11 circuits to go, and Elio looking for his first win this season. He has one car in front of him before he has some clear racetrack as they'll come around to complete lap 72 with the scheduled 80. That is Townsend Bell.
Townsend Bell right in front of him. Townsend Bell had an off-course excursion a little earlier in the week. Got into the tire barriers.
Townsend Bell, of course, sharing that right throughout the season with Milka Duno. That's the Dreyer Reinbold entry out of Indianapolis. And so after 29 races without a win, including 7, count them 7, second place finishes, it would appear that Elio Castroneves, a.k.a. Spider-Man, within 8 laps will have a chance to climb the fence. And this is a huge hit in the points for Dixon. Dixon now in 13th. He was in 14th, so he's picked up 1 spot. But this is going to be a huge hit in the points.
Yeah, Townsend Bell just moved over and let him go too. So that was good sportsmanship on both those guys' parts. I'm sure the spotters went up and asked them, you know, to get out of the way. They complied, got out of the way. So that was a good job by both those guys. Now we'll see if they do the same thing for Briscoe.
You know, 2-lap cars between first and second, 2 Penske cars. There's Castroneves. He has already gained the 3 bonus points for leading the most laps. I think that is the 3rd time this season he's picked up those bonus points.
Well, what you worry about as a driver when you're following those guys, I saw Carpenter drop a wheel off into the rocks there, and every time you see one of those guys do that, you think, geez, he spins in front of me, I collect him, then I'm history.
I'm out. Yeah.
Or if he throws some rocks up in front of there, and I run over one and damage a tire, you just don't, you know, it's just something you don't need when you're running a race and you're running as good as Castroneves is.
Well, Castroneves 2.6 seconds up over Briscoe, and then Servia. Who else? Dominguez. Servia and Dominguez get together, and Servia is back in 14th position. Where was Dominguez? He was up in 12. So looks like Dixon has picked up another couple of positions. He's now up to 12th spot. So he's going to pick up a few extra points, but it's still going to be a huge hit in the points championship.
Yeah, he actually is up to 11th now, so that was a big help to him. Three positions all there just by a mistake from those guys in front of him.
But keep in mind, when we go to a racetrack like Belle Isle next week, there is no room for error. That's a very narrow racetrack, concrete cavern, and one mistake and he can be taken out early.
If you make a mistake there, or if somebody in front of you.
There's no runoff area.
Yeah, there's no runoff area. And the guys in front of you can make a mistake and take you out too. Lap cars is a big problem at Belle Isle.
Is this Junqueira who's out in front of Elio now as he completes lap 74, 6 laps to go.
You see that smoke down there in turn number 1 coming off these cars. That's because the downforce is so strong.
Skid plate.
Yeah, the skid plates are hitting. If it's night, you see sparks and stuff coming out. Those skid plates are actually hitting the ground and dragging through that part of the course.
Now a couple of lap cars for Elio to contend with before this race is over. Briscoe still some 3 seconds back. Canada's 15 seconds back. Dixon has fallen back to 12th position, so Rice has gotten back around him. Dixon is back to 12th, and he is 50 seconds back.
Yeah, and he's, see Roger Penske there. That's Tim Cindric, who's they're watching their guys, just kind of telling them what to expect, what's in front of them, what's behind them.
Winningest car owner in IndyCar racing. Of course, he's won 14 times at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. His first coming in 1972 with Mark Donohue.
Looks like Marty Roth right in front of him. So we'll see if he can negotiate around him.
They get to Marty and tell Marty to get the heck out of the way. So now down to 5 laps to go. The lead still is about 3 seconds. No, it's up to 4 seconds now. So no challenge for the lead. The challenge right now for Elio is the lap traffic.
Yeah, Briscoe is kind of falling in behind those lap cars. He's not making a real strong attempt to get around Carpenter and those guys. So he's pretty much conceded that he's going to run second to Elio. Now we'll just see if Elio is going to.
That was conceded yesterday in qualifying.
Right. We'll see now if Elio is going to sit back there and kind of cruise behind Marty Roth, or he's going to go up there and try to get a lap on him.
You think you saw this guy happy in the past?
Yeah.
Wait till he wins this race this afternoon.
Yeah, if he can last another 5 laps and put on a victory, he will be a happy camper.
Kasdanevich, then it's Briscoe, Kanaan, Weldon. Patrick is 5th. Then Vizo, his best ride of the season. Mira, Rahal, Wilson, Marias. Rice is 11th. Dixon is now in 12th position.
Yeah, and you can see that Kasdanevich did get around Marty Roth, so he's got a clear track in front of him. As we go back to Dixon, that's Rice in front of him, but he's got some pressure from behind. So
Muto's behind him.
We'll see how. You got to understand. I mean, Dixon's pretty happy where he is, but he knows that Muto isn't, and he's pretty hungry. So what do you do? How hard do you fight these guys at this point? You don't
take a chance of wrecking to let him go on by and lose some more points.
Exactly. You don't really want to get up there and push too hard with Rice. But on the other hand, if you don't, you got Muto up your tailpipe there, and he's going to come and give you some problems. So he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place as to what he should do.
That's Andretti right behind Muto. So you've got 2 Andretti green teammates running in 13th and 14th.
And they're not real benevolent. They're not going to sit back there.
No, they're not benevolent.
They're not. Just because Dixon's leading the point standings, that doesn't mean anything to those guys.
So how wide is Dixon going to make this race car?
Well, the best thing that could happen is he'd go around Rice, but I don't think he's trying.
Well, he's almost a second behind Rice. He's not in a position to get by him.
Well, he's pretty close, and he gets those corners. He's been pretty close a couple of times. All those guys are pretty close to each other. They're running
one slip, and he could end up going back to about 21st or 22nd.
He gets up there and locks the brakes up.
Hit the points.
And goes out. He's going to lose at least 2 or 3 spots. Going to lose 3 spots probably.
Coming up on 3 laps to go as you keep an eye on Scott Dixon, who led the points by 78 points. The point difference right now, if we end this race now, is 43. But it was 78 going in. So that is a huge hit.
That'll be a 35-point hit if nothing changes from this point out. So
there it is right now. The race into right now. And after today, there'll be 106 points available. So a two-car shootout between Elio and Scott for the championship. Now keep in mind that Elio won the 500 as a rookie, and in his second season for Roger Penske, his third 500, he finished second to his teammate Gilles de Ferran. That has never been accomplished before. However, he has never given him a championship, but he wins races.
Yeah, he's had some bad luck. The thing about championships is you've got to be in every race. Look at Scott Dixon. One race and it's not a bad race. He's just not in the top 3 or 4, and it's going to be a big hit points-wise. So if consistency is everything to win a championship.
Roger Penske likes to win races. Go back to our old friend Tom Sneva. Won a couple of championships for him, but didn't win races, and he got fired.
Well, and another thing was Tom Sneva was very headstrong. You've got to be a team player, and Sneva he wanted to do things his way, and it just didn't fit in the whole realm of things with Roger Penske.
Well, as you heard Roger earlier, Castro Nevis is just the model driver for him. He's worked well with his teammate to help Brian Briscoe on the ovals. They work well together. He is so likable. He loves playing with the crowd. And he's a good team player, as Roger said before this race.
You know what? And he's very good at playing the crowd. All the women love this guy. I mean,
he can dance. Women like guys that can dance, and he proved that on television.
He's always smiling. He's always happy. You can't help but like the guy because he just never seems to be in a bad mood. He'll throw a little fit once in a while after Kentucky, where he was all upset they ran out of fuel. It lasted about 10 minutes. It's all over. He's smiling again and saying, "Hey, we got to go to the next race."
Right now, we're looking at the white flag coming up on your leader, and he is in again traffic, gingerly working through that chicane.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be very cautious with the lead he's got.
Whoa! That was Will Power just took out some tires.
Well, he tried to do the same thing he's done about 3 or 4 times already. Missed that chicane. That time he just didn't miss the tires as well.
He didn't miss the tires, did he? You'd think if he went through there about 3 times, he'd know where those tires are.
I think that was about the 5th time, because I think he did it once after they gave him a penalty, and then that time he must have been having some brake problems because, man, you couldn't make the same mistake 5 different times in the same corner, I would think.
All right, final lap. Dixon is 55 seconds back in 9th position. You saw the gap would narrow to 43 points. And Castro Nevis, this is going to be a victory lane celebration like we have not seen in a long time from Castro Nevis.
The other thing that might have happened is that maybe that's the way they run chicanes in Australia. I'm not sure. Right?
Just drive through.
Yeah, just drive through them. What the heck?
Castro Nevis with a 5-second lead now over his teammate Briscoe. Kanan 3rd, Weldon 4th, Patrick is 5th. As you ride along down through the S's, looks very much like this race is going to belong to Castro Nevis, and that championship is going to continue on to Belle Isle next week. And from Belle Isle, we go to Chicagoland. So we may have some fireworks like we saw last year.
Yeah, could come down. Carpenter
goes off course.
Right here on the
Here comes the checkered flag for Castro Nevis, and he breaks a 29-race winless streak. And look at that, pumping that fist, high fives across the way. What started out to be adversity with a big fire in the transporter with the primary cars this past Wednesday outside Cheyenne, Wyoming. They brought in the backup cars, reconfigured the oval track cars to the road race setup. They put the cars in the front row, started 1st and 2nd, and they're going to finish 1st and 2nd. And after losing 29 straight events, Spider-Man is going to climb the fence here at Infineon Raceway.
They've been on fire all week. Why should it stop now, right?
Well, they started on fire and they stayed on fire.
That's right. Stayed on fire.
That is pretty impressive work by. Look at this. Look how happy he is.
Yeah, he's going to be one happy man, and the whole team's going to be happy for him. Even though he puts on the happy face, I'm sure he hasn't been the easiest guy to get along with here with some of these finishes and some of the things that have happened to him over the last.
Well, can you imagine his response when he got a telephone call? Hey, Elio, your primary car is now melted. Let's hear from Tim Cendrick down in the Penske crew.
With Tim Cendrick. Tim, It seemed like a picture-perfect race today, but I know in the big picture it means so much more even than just one victory today. What does this mean for your team?
Yeah, I mean, once again, it shows the determination this group has, and Elio and those guys. And it wasn't easy the way that yellow came out. You know, it was a bit of a mixed bag, but you know, fortunately, we were able to do mixed strategies and then play it out from there. But you know, we wouldn't have won this race if Elio hadn't have driven the wheels off of it there when he needed to. So you know, it's a testament to the organization, and you know, we'll keep going and see where we end up here at the end of the year.
Tighten the championship race up considerably. How does that increase your chances to pull it off?
I think our approach next weekend is the same. We go for broke because that's the only thing that's going to get us where we need to be.
It's tightening up going to Penske's home track next week at Belle Isle.
Well, Belle Isle is a beautiful, beautiful place for a family reunion, Larry, but quite honestly, it's not the greatest of road courses. We've got to be blatantly honest because it's very narrow, not very fast, and really no place to pass.
Yeah, it's a tough course. It's just like this one. Look at this.
There you go. It's important to qualify up front. Where's it going? Where's the fence? Well, that's not exactly a fence, but
yeah, he's going to climb right up with the crowd. What the heck? High fives to everybody.
There wasn't a fence close enough here at Infineon for him to climb. Look at this.
So he climbed over the fence, up with the crowd.
The Brazilian flag.
The Brazilian flag. So everybody's got a Brazilian flag, right? What the heck? I wondered why he clutched. I went right up there, saw the Brazilian flag, headed right straight for it.
There's not a fence close enough for him to climb, but he just wants to jump right. He wants to climb something. Climbing the arms of his teammates.
Yeah. And you can see.
No hurry to take the helmet off.
Those are not the same uniforms these guys usually have, obviously.
Victory, and what timing for the win to tighten up the championship.
Great stops, buddy.
Getting congratulations. What does this mean for you? It ends the drought and it also tightens the championship.
Oh, boss, here we go, my man. You're the man, hey. Woo! Good job. Thank you, boss. Okay, let me catch my breath here because I tell you, climb the fence, it ain't easy. Talk to this guy first.
While he gets his helmet off, I'm going to talk with Roger because, Roger, this has been an incredible week for you guys as you face the adversity. What does it say about your team to accomplish what you've accomplished here today?
Well, I'll tell you, it's the fraternity pulled together with us, helping us get all back together here this week. And, you know, all these guys, you know, these are racers. You know, it's a great group of guys. It's all about people, and Elio and Briscoe, they really did the job today. And we got tough competition out there. Elio wanted to get that win, and wow, what to do it under adversity we had this week. But I just want to thank everybody who called us, helped us over the last several days.
Roger, congratulations on the win. Let's turn now to Elio as he gives a celebratory hug to the man who calls his strategy, Tim Cindric. And this is a pair that has been together through thick and thin, and there's been some of the thin of late. 29 races in a row that you had not won, Elio, as he slips on that Indy 500 championship ring. The hug from Ron Mazuski, his engineer. A little excited.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding, man? I'm fine. I'm looking for this week for so long, and let me tell you, I want to thank so much, obviously, those guys. They've been working 24/7. You don't understand. I mean, our cars got on fire, burned, and we lost a lot of things, and those guys were like, back to Charlotte, come back. I mean, what a great team effort. Everyone, every single guy from NASCAR, from ALMS, you know, from everyone. I mean, those guys are tight together. That's why this team is it is what it is. I mean, oh my goodness. And then they keep telling me, push, push, push. I'm like, all right, baby, let's keep pushing this thing, because it was hard. It was really hard, I tell you that, but it was fun, a lot of fun.
You win the race, but even more importantly in the big picture, you close the gap in the championship. How does this increase your confidence in regards to the championship chase?
Oh my God, this is awesome. I mean, that's what we're looking for. We've been close so many times. Finally, for a moment there, I was like, man, this is not gonna happen again. I mean, this is amazing. But we never lost faith. TC keeps telling me on the radio, push, push, and I'm like, all right, I'll do it. But again, I mean, this is great for Detroit. Detroit's a great track. It brings me great memory from winning my first race.
You're obviously frustrated.
Hey, it's a great momentum. Let's carry on. Woo-hoo-hoo!
Elio Castroneves and Team Penske looking to carry on next week to Belle Isle.
My golly, he's good for racing. Wow. Oh my. So he picks up what, 35 points in this championship chase, and as he indicated, he's gone 29 races without a win, so he sets a new record for 7 straight seasons. Make that 8 now straight seasons with at least 1 win during the course of the season.
Chance for you to join us back here in the studio. With us is Catherine Legg and Johnny Molam, and you've got to say, Elio, Catherine, very happy man.
Yeah, he did a great job, didn't he? And he came out with the goods, and now he's one step closer to getting the championship as well.
7 second places. He's first in what, 29 races, I think it is. I wrote it down, Johnny. It's been a long way. No wonder he was pumped like he was on helium.
Yeah, he's always quite up. That's his kind of personality. I remember that from old. But I'm happy for him because he's been quick enough. He's had a number of poles this year, as you say, a number of second places as well. He definitely deserved to get a win this season. I'm not sure whether I would say he deserved to win the championship, but I'm really happy that he won this race.
Penske had a week of adversity, Catherine, and they locked out qualifying, front row, perfect job. And then the gentleman's set went and took the first 2 places as well. Doesn't get much better, does it, for a team?
Yeah, well, I think they deserve it. You know, after all the hard work and everything the whole team put in to get those backup cars out and to that standard, I think that they did a really good job. And like Johnny said, you know, I don't know whether they do deserve to win the championship, but they really did deserve to win the race today.
Tony Kanaan hung on in there as well for a 3rd place. It looks like he's out of it as far as the championship is concerned now. But Dan Weldon in 4th place, still just about hanging on by his fingertips, but really it's between 2 men, isn't it?
I think it has been for a while, to be honest, in terms of speeds, and I think it's no surprise to see the 2 battling it out. I'm surprised in a way because Scott Dixon was sort of mirroring his strategy, Elio's strategy, so I'm surprised that he dropped as far back as he did. I would have liked to have seen a bit more coverage of that and see how he ended up so far back, because he certainly had the pace. Well, maybe actually, to be fair, not the pace to run with maybe the 2 Penske cars, but certainly not to finish sort of down in 11th.
Well, let's take a look at what that's done as far as the championship is concerned at this particular point, because really it's cost him dearly. Scott Dixon is now only 43 points in front of Elio Castroneves. It was 78 when we came into today. Dan Weldon is only 124 behind, but that means that he is out of it. I think it's 106 that's possible out of the 2 rounds that are left if we include bonus points as well. So Dan is now out of it, so Johnny was absolutely right. There is mathematics much better than mine, obviously, unless it's written down for me. Tony Kanaan is out, obviously, in 4th place. Ryan Briscoe is 186 points behind, but in 5th place at the moment. Danica Patrick 6th. With 2 rounds to go, that's how it looks in the top 10 as it is at the moment. Well, that of course is the Indy cars. Now for all you A1GP fans, we've some news regarding the season ahead. The opening round at Mugello has been cancelled, sadly, as far as I'm concerned anyway. So the new Ferrari will race for the first time at Zandvoort on October the 5th. Our own Johnny Molam was given the chance to test the car at Silverstone last week. Now then, Johnny, this all-new motor vehicle, I'm surprised they let you out in it really, but Silverstone, being serious, it looks like it's quite a nice car. What's it like to drive?
It's raw at this stage, and I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic when the teams actually get their hands on it and really begin to. For example, we weren't running Packers in the car at the moment. This is the test car, just running literally pretty bog standard setup on it. I think as soon as you get the likes of some of the top guys, engineers getting their hands on it, putting Packers onto it, getting it to keep aero through the corners, that the engine package and the whole situation, the push to pass button is just out of this world. I want one in my sports car. It was just something unbelievable. As you saw there, it was kind of damp conditions and I was running on wet, so I ran a few laps on slicks, but even in the wet, when you press the push to pass, it was just like a rocket ship going.
You drove the old car, Catherine, briefly. Quite a heavy car, quite a difficult car, wasn't it, in comparison?
Yeah, I drove it in a test session at Dubai actually, and it was a big heavy car with a lot of oversteer, and they seem to have done a really good job with this new Ferrari by the looks of things.
An interesting season to come, of course, on A1GP, which of course you'll see here live on Sky. But right now, from Infineon Raceway, that's all we've time for today. My thanks, of course, go to Catherine and Johnny for joining me here in the studio. But before we go, here's a look at the live motorsport coming up this week on Sky Sports. Next Sunday, we've a double dose of American racing for you live on Sky Sports. The IndyCar Series is first up with the Detroit Indy Grand Prix. The penultimate round is from the raceway at Belle Isle Park in Detroit. Live coverage at 8:30 p.m. on Sky Sports 2. Then for all you night owls, live NASCAR is a little later at 1 a.m. The Pepsi 500 from the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California takes you through to the early hours of Monday morning on Sky Sports 2. So lots of live motorsport to look forward to next week. Do join us if you can. But tonight, Elio Castroneves celebrates a great win for Team Penske, and the chase for the championship is still wide open going into next week. Goodbye from all of us. We'll leave you now with the best moments from Infineon See you on Sunday.
Stick knife, car chop, bloodbath, ribcage, soft tail. Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting
More sport, news and views at skysports.com.